All right, so we are live. So if welcome to our webinar series, everyone. For those of you who are tuning in, good afternoon. Welcome to our EduAdvisor webinar series, part of the EduAdvisor Virtual Education Fair, where academicians and industry professionals will weigh in on a number of topics, ranging from choosing an education pathway to jobs and careers. My name is Nina, and today we have Dr. Varun Tangamani, the Assistant Professor in Aeronautics and astronautics of the University of Southampton, Malaysia, will be sharing with us about aerospace engineering and how to take up your career in this particular field. So, just a little bit background about our esteemed speaker today. Dr. Varun's interest in the field of aeronautical engineering and energy saving technology has been time honored. After earning an MS research degree in aerospace engineering from the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, Dr. Varun pursued his PhD at Cranfield University in UK. Soon after completing, he worked as a project development engineer and was part of a team that developed a much acclaimed and patented energy saving defrost technology. Now he is the assistant professor in aeronautics and astronautics of the University of Southampton, Malaysia campus. Thank you, Dr. Varun, for joining us today. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you for that kind introduction. Good afternoon, everyone who has tuned in on the other side of the internet. So nice to meet you all virtually. So because I've already been introduced, I'm not going to reintroduce myself. I will just delve into the topic directly.
All right.
So the
Hold on.
topic,
Yeah, Dr. Varun, hold on. Yeah.
yeah.
For those of you who are live watching our video live now, if you have any questions for Dr. Varun, do leave a comment and we'll get them answered at the end of the session. Also, for those of you who are at our fair right now, don't forget to check out University of Southampton's virtual booth while you're at the fair. Prepare your questions, watch this video. If you have any questions for Dr. Varun, leave it below or you can save it and ask the counselors at University of Southampton's booth. All right. Uh, Dr. Varun, do you want to proceed with your presentation now?
Sure. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so I'll pull up your screen now and you may go ahead.
Right.
Right.
Hi everyone. Good afternoon again. All people listening on the other side. Good afternoon. Hope you're all doing fine and safe in this period. So today's talk is about aerospace engineering. So what I wanted to convey through this talk is kind of a broad perspective of what aerospace engineering is about. What are the different prospects? What are the different branches or areas of interest in aerospace engineering? And how are they evolving currently? And what are the, of course, for students who are interested about the job prospects, what are the prospects after you complete a degree as well? So we'll just look at a bird's eye view of this aerospace industry in this talk. So we will go through an overview of aerospace engineering as a discipline of engineering. Then we will go on to various branches of aerospace engineering because it's you may think of it as a new branch of engineering, but it's a century old. Aeronautical engineering is literally a century old discipline of engineering, so it has evolved into many branches actually. So we will look into all these branches. And then we will look at the largest employment sector of aerospace engineers, which is the civil aviation industry. And then, because we are all live from Malaysia, so I'm talking live from Malaysia, so it will be useful to get the local perspective of the industry in the country that we live. So we look at what are the aerospace prospects in Malaysia, right? So let's start from what basically aerospace engineering is about, what the discipline is about. So aerospace engineering, otherwise called as aeronautics and astronautics in some contexts, it's the same. Aeronautics and astronautics or aerospace engineering, it's the same. It's just used in different contexts. So basically, it can be classified into aeronautical engineering and astronautical engineering. So aeronautical engineering deals with engineering of all your vehicles that are moving through air within your atmosphere, within the Earth's atmosphere. And once a vehicle is out of the atmosphere, then it becomes the subject of astronautical engineering. So it leaves the Earth's atmosphere, and then it becomes astronautical engineering. So there's a lot of synergies between these two branches of engineering. That's why they are combined together as aerospace engineering. Some examples of aeronautical vehicles or air vehicles would be, I mean, as you know, as the aircraft, the civil aircraft that you fly, UAVs, your helicopters, your drones. Those will all be your aeronautical vehicles. And astronautical vehicles, you have the satellites, interplanetary probes, some outer space rockets, and all these things will be part of astronautical crafts or spacecrafts. And some, for example, the space shuttle, they start their journey from the Earth's atmosphere. They start from the Earth's surface, and then they cross the Earth's atmosphere and move into space. So those are what we call as aerospace vehicles. So you have to deal with it as an aeronautical engineering point of view and also from an astronautical engineering point of view. So this is aerospace engineering in a nutshell. If you look at what this subject is broadly about. And if you look at the engineering part of it, so it's basically as an aerospace engineering, primarily you will be involved in the design, build, and maintenance of these aerospace vehicles. So you would be involved in the design according to the requirements, then you would be involved in the building or manufacturing, and then the maintenance of these vehicles. So all these would come under the purview of aerospace engineering. So aerospace engineers, quite can be distinguished by an extreme sense of passion, and more importantly, a sense of wonder for aviation and space flight. In the last 2 decades, flight has become quite common. Most of us have been frequent flyers, at least until February. We have all been frequent flyers. So it may have become a bit normalized, but once you enter the flight and it takes off, you look out into the window and you have a sense of wonder as to, yeah, I'm flying and I'm above the Earth's surface. That sense of wonder and awe is quite fundamental to aerospace engineering. If you want to go into aerospace engineering, that sense of wonder is key. Why? Is because this branch can be extremely demanding. It can be exciting as well as challenging, because whatever challenges you have in, for example, an automotive engineering, you can just multiply it by 10 times or 20 times. Just to give you a small practical example, if you are taking a drive from one city to another, what all safety aspects would you be worried about? I mean, your car would be moving in maybe 100 kilometers per hour, and you will be wearing your seat belts, you will be having your airbags, safety bags, and all those safety things come into consideration when you are driving a vehicle at 100 kilometers or maybe 120 kilometers per hour. But imagine a space shuttle that is, going from the Earth's surface, it is going to space, and then you come back. Human beings come back using the same vehicle. Just imagine the kind of complexities and the safety issues such a journey might undertake. So here you have 120 kilometers per hour, and here you have a maximum speed of 28,000 kilometers per hour. So the safety factors and the precision in engineering would be multiplied. So the precision that goes into building the parts of a system like a space shuttle is perhaps 100 times high, and the factor of safety is quite high. That's why it is demanding, and it is challenging, because a vehicle, this space shuttle is an extreme case, but generally a vehicle that moves through air is facing a hostile and a challenging environment. There's all sorts of environmental challenges that it has, like pressures and temperatures. The pressure high up is quite low, the temperature is fluctuating, it's low. So all these kind of challenges has to be taken into account when you design such aeronautical or aerospace vehicles. So if you are, let's say you have the fundamental requirement of this sense of wonder and passion for aerospace engineering, and you have decided to go into to take an aerospace degree from a university. So it will be typically a 4-year university program. So if you are studying in an Asian university, it will be a 4-year bachelor's program typically. and 2 years of masters. If you're studying in UK, then it will be a 4 year. You have the option of doing a 4 year integrated masters program and MNs program like what is offered in University of Southampton. So the basic requirements before you go into this university degree is that you need to have a good aptitude for mathematics. You need to have some basic mathematical skills. You need to have strong foundation in physics, and if you have taken programming in your A levels, that is also desirable. It's not necessary when you enter, but it's good to have. And the typical entry requirements could range anywhere from 3Bs to A star AA. So at University of Southampton, Malaysia, the entry requirement we have for aeronautics and astronautics students is 3As, and that should include obviously maths and physics. So yeah, so the take home point is that you should not be hating mathematics and physics, because that's what goes into building these amazing vehicles. So this is just for you, just to give an idea of what this 4 year program might entail. So in the first year, you will have basic engineering, some mechanical engineering subjects. In the second year, you will have some more aerospace related subjects. And in third year and fourth year, you will have more project based learning and more specialized subjects. We will not go into details of each of these, but we will look at a more broader perspective of the different branches that we have in aerospace engineering. So, as I said, it's a century old. Aeronautical engineering is perhaps century old, and astronautics is developed from 1950s. In fact, the first set of astronautical engineers were actually aeronautical engineers. So when they started the space program in the US and Russia, all the aeronautical engineers went into astronautics because there was some similarity between them. And in fact, even the first astronauts were actually pilots, aircraft pilots were the first astronauts. So there's a lot of synergy between these two branches. So if you look at the different branches in aerospace engineering, there are many different branches, but then the most popular and the most common or the most fundamental of them is aerodynamics, aircraft and spacecraft structures, propulsion systems, then avionics, and then there's of course several other allied branches like navigation, operations, even management. So you could become you could be allied with any of these sub branches after having a degree in aerospace engineering. You could have a management related to an aerospace industries. So you could branch off from a degree in aerospace engineering to many other sub branches. But the most popular or the most fundamental of them is aerodynamics, structures, propulsions, and avionics. So we will just have a brief look at each of these branches. So aerodynamics, I mean, aero means air and dynamics means dyne means force. So basically, it deals with determining the forces that act on an aircraft, for example, when it moves through air. Okay? So there are various ways to determine it. There's no easy way for a complex machine like an aircraft. It might seem easier, but it's quite complex. It's not easy. So there are various methods. The traditional and traditional and conventional approach is what we call as experimental or wind tunnel studies. So basically, you have an aircraft, you scale it down to a small model size, you keep it inside what is called as a wind tunnel. So in reality, the aircraft moves around still air. So in a wind tunnel, the aircraft is still and the air moves around it. Okay, so it's easier for measurements to be carried out. So you make a small scale model and place it in a wind tunnel. You have air flowing around it, and you can perform some experiments to measure these four basic forces that are acting on an aircraft. But then the problem with this is that it is quite expensive or time consuming, and you need to have these extensive facilities. So of late, in the recent decades, what is gaining more attention is the computational simulation. So basically, when an object is moving through air or any fluid, it is governed by some physics and mathematical equations. So you try to solve those equations using a computer. Those are not easy equations that you can solve using a pen and paper. Those are very complicated equations. So you need a computer to solve them. and the computer solves it for you and gives you the solutions for the temperature around this aircraft, the forces that are generated, the pressure around it, and all those kind of things. So there are just two aspects of determining this: experimental and computational. Just a few current trends or hot topics in the field of aerodynamics. Just if I wanted to highlight, this what is called as blended wing body aircraft, which are being developed, which is also touted to be the future of our civilian aircraft. So basically, the aircraft that you see here, the conventional aircraft that we all fly in, is called as a pipe and wing configuration. It has got a pipe or cylindrical pipe shaped fuselage, and then the wings generate the lift. So the cylinder, the fuselage, doesn't generate any lift. So instead you have a complete wing, a flying wing, that the whole body generates lift in this particular configuration. So the advantage is that it is more energy efficient, it can fly at very low velocities, and you can also pack in a lot of payload or passengers inside such a configuration. So that's being developed now. And then you might have seen this curvatures in the wing tips. So this is called as winglets. So that's added to increase the efficiencies. So with the advance in material science, you could get complicated shapes fitted onto the aircraft wings. So that's being developed and researched further. And then in terms of the speed of aircraft, supersonic aircraft, you might be familiar with the Concorde aircraft, which was the first civilian aircraft to fly transatlantic, carrying passengers, but then it was phased out. So now it has there's a renewed interest in supersonic transport to carry passengers, civilian passengers. One of the problem with Concorde was that it will generate a lot of shock noise, what is called a sonic boom, because it flies faster than sound, faster than the speed of sound. So now there are technologies in which it can fly as quiet as your normal civilian aircraft. So Lockheed Martin, the aircraft company in US, is working on that. So in the future, you might have this. So just these are all just to highlight the fact that all the branches, the different branches in aerospace engineering, is still evolving. Okay, so it has not reached any saturation, and it's not like from now on, there's not going to be any innovation. It's just completely new inventions and innovations happening in this field. Um, so this is an anechoic chamber. So basically, a sub part of aerodynamics is what is called as aeroacoustics, where you measure the sound generated from an aircraft. So this is a facility in University of Southampton to measure those sounds. So these strange structures that you see behind the students is actually to minimize the reflection of sound that is generated in this aircraft model. So all these exciting things happen. So and when you talk about aerodynamics or aerospace engineering, the applications are not just for aircraft and rockets. It's actually quite literally you can apply it to any body that moves through air. For example, a cycle. And you have to consider the aerodynamic aspects when especially when the object is moving faster. So because as we said, there are four fundamental forces. One of them is drag. So this drag force is proportional to the square of speed. I mean, it increases with the speed at which this body is moving. So you have to consider the aerodynamics. So you can see a cyclist, a professional cyclist, and he is actually sitting inside a cycle model, a real scale cycle model, inside a wind tunnel. So air is blowing around him, and they are taking studies, measurements of the various forces that are acting on the cycle plus man system. So these are very important when you are a professional athlete or professional cyclist. So the take home point is that the principles that are not just for aerospace vehicles, but to wide other areas like this. So the next branch of aerospace engineering is what we call as aircraft and spacecraft structure. So one of the challenges that you have to actually fly with least possible weight and maximum strength as well. So that would mean that each part that goes into this aerospace vehicles or an aircraft has to be carefully designed, carefully weighed, So structures deal with all the materials and the strength that goes into this building of an aircraft. So that also is constantly evolving. You have breakthroughs in every 5 years, short-term breakthroughs in this aircraft structures field. So you might have heard of composite materials. So that's basically a combination or blending of two materials with desirable properties. For example, let's say you have a lightweight material, but you want to increase its strength, so you can add carbon fibers along a particular axis to increase its tensile strength. So it will be light and it will be strong as well. So you combine various materials to form a new material. So that's what is called as composites. So composite materials are being used more and more intensively in aircraft manufacturing. In fact, the Boeing 787 Dreamliner, one of the most efficient civilian aircraft, it uses around 12% of its weightage is made from composite materials. And then there is, what is called a smart structures. So basically, you have this wing shape that you see in this aircraft. So that wing shape is optimized for a particular flight condition only, the cruise flight. It is suboptimal during takeoff, or it could be suboptimal during other flight conditions. So if you change the wing shape according to the flight conditions, then you can gain a lot of fuel efficiency. So morphing wings is a concept wherein the wing shape changes continuously according to flight conditions. So that is also being researched. So using some actuators and light materials, you can change the shape of the wing as it flies under different conditions. And then there is 3D printed manufacturing. So you could actually print 3D parts for aircraft. Over 1,000 parts of this aircraft is 3D printed. So all these are technological developments are happening in aerospace engineering. So this is the first and completely 3D printed aircraft built by a research team in University of Southampton, built and flown in University of Southampton. So the third branch, so you have the aerodynamics, you have the aircraft structures, and the third branch is propulsion system. So propulsion system is the muscle, as it says. It is what is propelling or giving the thrust to your aircraft or rocket. So this is a sub branch that is going to deal with this your jet engines and your rocket engines and things like that. So this is one of the main component of the aircraft which can achieve a significant efficiency in energy of the aircraft and fuel efficiency. So it is just lots and lots of innovations, research and development going on in jet engines. So some of this is regarding the materials that is used inside this engine. So for example, you have a hot turbine inside this jet engine. So that hot turbine faces gases of a couple of thousand kelvins, 1,000 degrees centigrade, so more than 1,000 degrees centigrade. So it has to withstand that kind of thermal stress. So the blade materials are being researched. So even new composite materials, ceramic composites are being researched for the blade materials. Lots of innovation happening in that area. Just to give you a small idea, this A380 and 787, the two aircraft from Boeing and Airbus, their fuel consumption for 100 RPK. RPK is revenue passenger kilometers. So you take, if 100 passengers travel for a kilometer, then that is 100 RPK. So if you look at the fuel efficiency or fuel consumption to transport 100 people for a kilometer, it's approximately 3 liters. Okay? So that is comparable to a small family car. So it has become so efficient. In fact, from the 1950s, the aircraft has become 80% more fuel efficient than the 1950s. That's when this jet engine was first used in civil aviation. And despite that, there's also the rise in use of biofuels. So biofuels are basically fuels that are obtained from plant and animal matter. So conventionally, your aviation fuel, called as Jet A or Jet A1, they are obtained from crude oil. So this crude oil is processed and you combust it inside the jet engine. and once you combust, it's going to release CO2. And I'm sure you're all aware of CO2 emissions. It's going to increase the global warming effect. And then the problem with this is that it's just released into the ambience. Whereas if you are taking it from a biofuel source like this, the CO2 that is emitted is again reabsorbed by these plants, because plants need CO2 for photosynthesis. So the carbon that is emitted is fixed or sequestered by the plants. So that's your net emissions is lower than using your conventional fuels. So they don't usually use 100% biofuel. So it's usually blended with your jet aviation fuel in various proportions, and then it is used. So KLM was the first company to fly commercial flights using your biojet blends. And the fourth branch that I'm talking about and we'll talk about is avionics. So avionics is it's an amalgamation of aviation plus electronics. So electronics, it's ubiquitous in aerospace engineering. You will find it in commercial and military aircraft, ground systems, unmanned systems, UAVs, satellites, everything. I mean, it's not going to function without avionics or electronics. And the thing with aerospace engineering is that whatever developments happen in any of these allied branches, whatever developments happen in electronics and electrical engineering, for example, gets absorbed, without much delay into aerospace engineering, because it is high technology. It is high technology, or high tech as you call. So everything is cutting edge. The implementation of all the technologies is or cutting edge technologies. This is another popular sub branch of aerospace engineering. And all these recent development concerning avionics, and the size of electronics, as you know, keeps on reducing. And then you have got autonomous navigation of drones. For example, you can see that this particular drone is spraying fertilizer for this paddy field. So autonomous means there's no manual input into the flight, so it will take off automatically and it will just do its function and come back to its supposed home point. So it might be easier for you to imagine such a thing happening for an open field like this, but just think if the terrain is uneven, or in the case of a palm plantation, for example, then the autonomous navigation becomes very quite challenging. So all this is another the control systems and everything that goes into aerospace. And then, of course, you've got the cyber security issues, blockchain, everything is going to come inside this. So now that we have looked at the various branches in aerospace engineering, we will look at the various sectors that aerospace, after finishing, you have done your aerospace engineering, you have perhaps specialized in aerodynamics or avionics or something. You're getting outside, you're getting out of your university, you have finished your degree. Now you will be moving into, if you are to be an aerospace engineering, primarily you will be moving into any of these three sectors. You might be going into civil aviation, you might be going into military aviation or space sector. So say civil aviation is the broadest one that you can imagine. So everything, all the sectors that are allied with the transportation of passengers, civilian freight, civilian goods and services, all these come under civil aviation. So some of these companies, so these are just aircraft manufacturers, okay, civil aircraft manufacturers. But apart from this, there is a whole spectrum of industries under the civil aviation sectors. There is this contract manufacturers, OEMs, airports, airlines, management, operators, ground crew, everything. All this comes under civil aviation. Military aviation, on the other hand, is the technologies involved is a bit more classified. So in this you will be dealing with aircraft that are used for military purposes. So most of the technologies, as you would expect, are classified. And to get into a career or a job in military aviation might sometimes require security clearances as well. And space sector is traditionally It used to be, the space agencies traditionally used to be, funded or, undertaken by government because the kind of investment and the return of investment, when you consider, it's quite a risky thing. I mean, you will have to inject huge amounts of, funding for research and development in the space sector. So traditionally, it used to be, undertaken by government like NASA and European space agencies and all this that you see. But of late, in the past decade, a private sector has also entered into the space. The most recent example you might have read in newspapers is the recent launch of American astronauts into space station by completely privately built rocket and spacecraft, the Falcon and Dragon, by SpaceX. So private entities and private firms have been entering space sectors more than ever since the last decade. So it's become more dynamic, and it's become a growing sector more than ever. So these are all the three major sectors if you are to go into a core aerospace engineering career. So because military and space is an entirely different aspect, and civil aviation is the broadest one. So we will look at a bit more detail into the civil aviation sector. Just a bit of, just for us to understand the scale of the civil aviation sector. In 2018, so this data is from 2018. 2019 data I don't think it's still yet compiled because of the situation we have now, pandemic situation. So 2018, 4.3 billion passengers flew through commercial aircraft. That's almost like 60% of the human population in terms of numbers. And then there have been 48,500 routes. And if you look at the connectivity, except for maybe Greenland and Antarctica, the whole world is well connected by the civil aviation network. Yeah, and if you look at the economic impact, 65.5 million jobs belong to the civil aviation sector. So of this, 1.2 million is from civil aerospace sector, and then 55.3 million jobs are created by airlines, air navigation service providers, airports, and all this. So 65.5 million jobs globally is being created just in the civil aviation sector, and 6.8 billion US dollars worth of freight has been transported in a year by civil aviation. And then there's also some other jobs that are indirectly linked to civil aviation. For example, you will have this travel and tour sectors. All these are dependent on your civil aviation. So all this put together is 65.5 million. And the importance of aviation for the trade cannot be overstated, because it's not just in terms of the value, but in terms of the possibility, also the possibility of trade. Aviation has contributed hugely. Some kind of trades which were unimaginable in the last century has been made possible. So I will just give you one example, which I always like to give. So if you look at this particular case of trade involving civil aviation, you can look at Nairobi in that map. Nairobi is the capital of Kenya, so it's in Africa. And then I have also written that flower trade is a 7 billion euro business for the Dutch. So how is it connected? If you look at that, Nairobi or Kenya is one of the largest growers of rose flowers. Okay, rose flowers because a lot of sunshine and water, and then it's got very extensive rose farms. And every morning, it is. I mean, rose its value is only worth a day. I mean, okay, once it gets dry or anything, it's highly perishable good. Okay? So and it's grown in one part of the world, and every day at 8:05, a cargo aircraft leaves Nairobi. It flies to Amsterdam, reaches there at 2:50 local time, and at that once it reaches Amsterdam, it is all the flowers are auctioned, and then Amsterdam, as you know, is the floral capital of the world. So once it is all optioned, it's ready for use, and by the evening, it's ready to use. So, but if you think about it, some product that is just born in early morning is ready to use by evening in a different part of the world, and that has been made possible because of this aviation network, right? So this it has become quite integral to global trade. So it cannot be, it's inevitable now, and it will come back. So now if you look at the numbers, this is the rise of civilian passengers through the decades. And this thin line that you see is FTK, freight ton kilometer. So each ton of freight that is transported through civil aviation, if you multiply by the distance at which it travels, you get the FTK, or freight ton kilometers. So similarly, air traffic is calculated using what is called as RPK, or revenue passenger kilometers. So each person paying a ticket and the distance by which that passenger travels, if you combine all this, then you have RPK. So if you look at this, it's a good measure of freight traffic and air traffic. It has been growing steadily, and in fact, it has been growing quite geometrically, with an average rate of 5% per year in the past 2 decades. And in this, you can see some dents in the graph, some blips in the graph caused by various global crises. You got the Iran-Iraq war, you have the Gulf War, then you have the Asian currency crisis, the September 9/11 attack in the World Trade Center. Then you have the SARS epidemic, then you have the world recession, and similarly, so this graph ends at 2018. And if you are to extend it to 2020, I'm sure that you can expect to have a dip around 2020 first quarter as well, because we are in this pandemic. But then after every dent, you can see that it is rising up again. So that means that it is a resilient industry, and despite transient challenges like the current situation that we have, long term, the outlook is as I just the outlook of the industry is just growing. Okay, so that is in terms of scope, in terms of volume, in terms of the economy, it's a growing industries, and it cannot be. I don't think it can go back. For example, I don't think that the growth graph is going to fall after this 2021, or in the near future. It's going to pick up gradually. So it is a resilient sector. So when we talk about the passenger, if you look at on the other side, if you look at the cost of flying, so this is the price per ton kilometer. So it's basically it's an indicator of cost of flying. So that has also fallen steadily over the decades. And to give you an example, if you were to fly from Milan in Italy to Paris in 1992, it would cost you 400 euros for a single ticket. Whereas in 2017, that price of our ticket was just 15 euros. So a dramatic fall in prices so that has also contributed to the growth of this industry. And there are several factors actually that leads to this. So there's the rise of this LCCs of low cost carriers, rise of the middle class, the deregulation of the aerospace sector. So all these are various contributing factors that led to the fall of prices. And then there is the competitive market, competitive airlines market. So all these things led to a steady decline in cost of flying. It has become more and more affordable. And forecast, if you look for the next 15 years, then it's estimated to grow to 98 million from employing 65.5 million in 2016. Aviation is expected to employ 98 million in 2036. But of course, we have to, there are some caveats. I mean, there is, for like the pandemic that we have. So it may not be exactly 98 million, but still, we can certainly say that it is going to grow. Perhaps the figure of 98 million, there might be a bit of uncertainty, but then it is going to grow one way or the other, because as you saw, it has become inevitable. Even in the pandemic situation, There have been the contribution of civil aviation to transportation of medical supplies and everything has been significant. So in the future, challenges for civil aviation is all going to be in these different aspects. So that as aerospace engineers or aeronautical engineers, you would be in a broad perspective, you would be actually trying to solve one of those challenges. So the first three challenges is the effects on climate change. 2% of total CO2 emissions in the world is caused because of civil aviation, and then the sustainability issue. So that's where this biofuel and everything will come in. Then there's this pollution aspects. I mean, this aircraft also, the aircraft engine also emits NOx, oxides of nitrogen. So that is harmful and that has more pernicious effects to the atmosphere than CO2. Then comfort, and I mean we all want more faster streaming and more array of movies in our flight. So all these capacity, speed we saw about supersonic transport, and all these are different challenges that aerospace engineers and aeronautical engineers are going to be working towards in the future. So now we will look at the sector, the aerospace sector in Malaysia. First, let's look at the location of Malaysia in the map. If you look at the ASEAN region, Malaysia is quite central. And if we ask you to take a guess as to how many islands are there in ASEAN, actually there are around 24,000 islands. So ASEAN is composed of 24,000 islands, surrounded by thousands of kilometers of coastline. So aviation is quite inevitable and indispensable. So the thing is, I showed the graph of air traffic growth over the years. The global average is around 5%. So the air traffic increases by 5% each year, whereas it is 10% in the Asia Pacific region, particularly in the ASEAN region. The average growth rate is quite higher than the global average because, as you can see, aviation is a crucial link between the different geographical regions in the countries, in the 10 ASEAN countries. Aviation is crucial, and Malaysia has the advantage of being located centrally in this ASEAN region. So in the 1997, the government of Malaysia launched the National Aerospace Blueprint. So basically, it identified the aerospace industry as a strategic industry that has crucial potential in the country's industrialization and technological development program. It also generated a revenue of 12.7 billion ringgits. The aerospace sector generated 12.7 billion ringgits to the country's economy, and it employed 21,000 skilled workers directly. In 2015, the second blueprint, that Blueprint 2030 for the next 15 years, was launched in Lima. So again, it shows the guidance for the paths to be taken in terms for the sector in a national level. So the plan is to become an aerospace hub in ASEAN in terms of manufacturing and in terms of R&D, be on the cutting edge. So in 1997, so this was the landscape of Malaysian aerospace industry. It's just a handful of companies in the aerospace sector. But now, if you fast forward to 2015, there are umpteen number of companies and firms in the aerospace sector. So you can see this dramatic change that is happening in aerospace sector, and it is going to. I mean, we can say in certain terms that it is going to grow. The trend is going to continue because of the location and because of certain advantages, strategic advantages that Malaysia is having in terms of manufacture, in terms of passenger traffic, connectivity, and everything. So I'm just going to cite two examples of Malaysia's role in the aerospace in ASEAN region. So if you look at the relation between Malaysia and Airbus. So Airbus, you know that civilian aircrafts, almost all of the civilian aircrafts are supplied by two companies, Airbus and Boeing. So it's a duopoly. In 2019, Airbus had a 62.5% market share. So it increased because of all the 737 MAX troubles and everything. Airbus increased its share. So it's not an overstatement to say that our Airbus is the biggest civilian manufacturer of aircraft. So if you look at the association between Airbus and Malaysia, CTRM, a company based in Malacca, that is Composite Technology Research Malaysia. So it is the fifth largest supplier to Airbus in composite structures. So it manufactures wing components for the A320 family. So that's a narrow body, very popular narrow body aircraft family of Airbus. It supplies wing components to A350 wide body, A380 nacelles for A350. Various components are being produced at CTR. Then SME Aerospace, another company, manufactures wing components for A320 and A330. So the one by CTRM is all composite structures, and then the SME Aerospace provides some other wing components. Spirit Aerosystems, deals with the assembly of various wing components for A320 and A350. Strand Aerospace Malaysia is dealing with the design and certification analysis for A380 and A350 wide body. Sepang Aircraft Engineering has a tie-up with Airbus in terms of MRO, and MRO is maintenance, repair, and overhaul. And also they are collaborating to start a Airbus customer service center, because so ASEAN is one of the biggest customers of Airbus, and as I said, Malaysia is quite central and quite conducive for the development of this aerospace sector. So you can see, all the different associations that Airbus alone has. And then if you look at the engine sector, the jet engine sector, Rolls-Royce is one of the top jet engine manufacturer, turbofan manufacturer. So Rolls-Royce is a strategic partner to Malaysia's aerospace development. It's also a founding member of AMIC, Aerospace Malaysia Innovation Center. So that is a leading research technology institute that is based in Malaysia, that is propelling the innovations in aerospace in this part. UMW Aerospace has a understanding to MOU to manufacture and assemble fan cases for Trent 1000 and Trent 7000 engines by Rolls-Royce. So these are just some examples with world leading manufacturers and developers of aviation equipments and vehicles. So other than this aviation, space, and military aviation I mentioned, aerospace engineers have various other avenues as well. I mean, because as I said, you learn about how to design an aircraft wing. You learn about how to measure its strength and stuff. There's no reason that you cannot apply the same principle to an automobile. So some popular avenues that students go after doing a degree in aerospace engineering is like motorsports. A lot of them are passionate about Formula One. Formula One cars have a lot of aerodynamic components. There's a lot of aerodynamics in Formula One cars. So they go into that thermofluidic applications. Some of the students go into Dyson. So as I said, this computational simulation of airflow. If you learn the principles and if you learn the technology, if you learn the techniques and skills, there's no reason you cannot apply it in a different application. Like, for example, a vacuum cleaner, or for example, an oil and gas pipe. So it's just how or where you apply your skills that you learn. So quite contrary to popular belief, actually aerospace engineering is one of the most versatile disciplines of engineering. So from after doing aerospace engineers, there's been diverse disciplines that the students have gone into. So it is quite versatile. You should not be under the impression that so if you have done a degree in aerospace engineering, so it's just linked with NASA alone, or just Boeing or Airbus alone. So it's just wide, because the skills that you learn are quite widely applicable. It's just that you learn it for a more precise system. You learn it for a more safer and high factor of safety system. That's all. Systems engineering. So various different avenues that students go into um, after finishing aerospace engineering. So I think that's probably the end of my talk. So these are various companies that our students from University of Southampton go into after their aerospace engineering degree. As you can see, there is a collection of various different types of sectors in this one, not just civilian aviation, but there's a mix of everything. So it's ultimately up to the student to decide which avenue to pursue. So I think that is the end of the talk, and I welcome any questions related to the talk or related to this engineering discipline, and try
Hi,
to
Dr.
answer
Mo.
that if I can.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for your very insightful explanation. It's very elaborate and very detailed. So we are now nearing the end of the session. So let's take a look to see if there are any questions from our audience.
Okay.
Dr. Barnes, you can see the comment section on the side, right?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So let's answer one question from the audience. Would you like to pick a question from the audience?
Yes, I can see. So there's one question from Melina. So can aerospace engineers go to space? Yes, absolutely. They no, they don't work only in offices. So it depends on. So all the astronauts who go into space stations, it depends. The selection depends on the mission that they are going to undertake. In fact, that could be even biologists who are going into space. So it's totally possible, and in fact, a large number of them are aerospace engineers because you have to assemble these stuff, these systems and subsystems in space, and that requires the skill of aerospace engineers. So yes, it's totally possible to go into space. They don't work only in spaces, office space. So not just office space, the real space also, yes, possible, Melina.
All right.
Um,
Let's answer another question, perhaps.
Sarah has asked, what's the job market like in Malaysia? So as I said, there are so many aerospace companies right now in Malaysia, and it is bound to grow in the next decade because Malaysia is focusing and investing a lot on what is called MRO, maintenance, repair, and overhaul. Because there's a lot of aircraft flying in Malaysian airspace. There's this big fleet, and it would make sense to actually maintain them locally rather than sending them to another place on the world to get them maintained or repaired. So all this requires skill set in that area. And yes, so the problem is that there's not actually shortage of people with these aerospace skills. And also in Malaysia, there are a lot of drone companies as well. So if you look at Aerodyne, it's a multinational drone company. So that's a number of drone companies who are also into development of drones for various purposes, for agricultural purposes, for weather monitoring and stuff like that. So all these are open for aerospace engineers. So what is lacking is actually the amount of or the number of people who are who have that particular specific skill set.
All right. Okay. Let's just answer one more question. I think there's one from a student, Chan Ju Wei. Let's just. All right. What are the examples of practical work/project that can train students to have industry relevant skills?
Okay, so from my experience, during the summer break, actually, a number of students actually go into, getting internships, and most of these internships are with, aero companies like Rolls-Royce or Airbus and things like that. So they do get a lot of industry relevant skills. For example, I can cite a student who went to work with one of the aero companies. So he his project was to look at the data, that is the technical data that is coming from a particular family of Rolls-Royce engine and to look at the analysis and how to. So these various possibilities are there. And of course, once you do this kind of training and internships, and it will be easier for you to land a job in this sector because you already have a background of how this industry works. So it's also about, apart from this training that you have covered, it's also about doing your studies quite well because that is the backbone, that is the skills that you are learning. So everything else is kind of supplementary to that. So yeah, a good degree supplemented with this industrial training will be the ideal combination.
All right. Okay. That is very insightful. Thank you so much, Dr. Varun, for sharing your insights and all your. It's actually very interesting. Like I feel like I learned a lot about aeronautical engineering. Like I don't know anything
Thank you.
about to do. Yeah. So thank you, Dr. Varun. We hope that our audience has gained some valuable information from this session. So yeah, Mr. Varun, we hope that we can see you again for our next webinar sessions, hopefully.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and all the listeners, thank you for listening to this talk. And I hope you stay safe and stay healthy in this period.
All
All the best. Thank you.
right. Thank you, Dr. Varun.
Bye
Goodbye.
bye.
All right, so there you have it. Thank you to our audience for joining in our webinar session with Dr. Varun Tangamani of the University of Southampton, Malaysia. Now that if you're interested in pursuing aeronautical engineering or engineering in general, please do check out their booth at our EduAdvisor virtual fair. You can just visit Southampton University. So our next session is with Mr. Daniel Abhishekam from Advanced Security College, who will be speaking about studying law at ATC. So if you're interested in studying to be a legal eagle, be sure to stay tuned as we'll begin shortly. All right. So I think Mr. Daniel is already in the stream. Let me just get him in. Hi, Mr. Daniel.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Good to see you. Good to be here.
How yeah, how has the MCO treating you so far?
Well, we're all dealing with it the best we can.
Yeah.
We are
Oh.
already back at work. Some of us are back at
Mhm.
work. Some of the
Mhm.
teachers, most of the teachers at ATC are just teaching from home because
Yeah.
we've gone fully online. Uh,
Okay.
but yes, it's been
Uh,
okay. It's been okay.
okay. Mr. Daniel, do you mind us speaking louder? I think it might be a little bit soft.
Okay, okay, can
All
no
right.
problem.
Yeah, that's
Better?
perfect. Okay. So I think we can begin with our session. Let me just talk to the audience. Welcome back to our webinar series, part of the EduAdvisor Virtual Education Fair, where academicians and industry professionals will be weighing in on a number of topics, ranging from choosing an education pathway to jobs and careers. My name is Nina, and today we have Mr. Dino Abhishekam, the Academic Director of ATC, who will be sharing with us about studying law at ATC. So just a little quick background about our esteemed speaker today. Mr. Daniel Abhishekam has been in the legal education in a variety of capacities since 2003. After a stint as an advocate and solicitor of the High Court of Malaya, he turned to education full time. Mr. Abhishekam has taught in a variety of institutions, including regular spots at the Hong Kong Polytechnic University SPE, Singapore's ITC School of Law, and is now the academic director of ATC. While his primary function is education management, he still finds time to teach as it is his primary passion. So thank you, Mr. Daniel, for joining us today. Um, to our audience who are live watching right now, if you have any questions for Mr. Daniel, please do leave a comment either on Facebook or YouTube or even on our fair. I will get them answered at the end of the session. And don't forget to check out ATC's virtual booth while you're at the fair. So, Mr. Daniel, have you got your slides ready? Shall we share them now?
Okay, yeah, let me share them.
Yes. You just click share screen. Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
is it
All
sharing already?
right. Yes, it is now.
Okay,
Okay,
brilliant.
so without further ado, Mr. Daniel, you may go ahead and present your presentation.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is as announced. My name is Daniel Abhishegam, and I'm the academic director and senior lecturer at ATC. And today I just wanted to talk to all of you about generally studying for a law degree and also studying for a law degree at ATC. Now, straight away, when you say studying for a law degree, a degree in law, immediately what comes to mind is that the end result is that you will be a lawyer. Now, obviously, a lot of people who do study for law degrees go on to become lawyers. But I thought I'd start off by telling you that when you do study for a law degree, uh, being a lawyer is not the only end result. Being a lawyer is not the only career option that you have, right? So as you can see in this slide, obviously you can be a lawyer, a public prosecutor, or a federal counsel. Now in Malaysia, a deputy public prosecutor, a DPP, or a federal counsel, these are what colloquially are known as government lawyers. So you do the prosecution. If you are the DPP, the Deputy Public Prosecutor, you do prosecution for all crimes, right? That charges that are brought up against a person. One party will do the prosecution, and the other does the defending. So you will do the prosecution. So you work for the AG's chambers, right? Similarly, with a federal counsel or a senior federal counsel, what you do is you defend the government against any lawsuits or action that is taken against the government, right? But apart from that, right, you can also become what is known as a general counsel or work in an in-house legal department, right? This is, for example, if you are working for, let's say, Shell or Petronas or CIMB Bank or any one of those companies. These most big companies and medium-sized companies will have a legal department. So what you do is you work for that particular company. You are an employee of that company, and your role is to advise that company about their legal liability. Your role is to advise that company about what they can do and what they can't do, right? Journalism, right? Journalism is, of course, something very popular as well. Lots of news relates to law, right? You report on political matters, constitutional matters. You report on crime. You report on court cases, right? So an understanding of the law usually helps with you being able to write your article well, right? HR departments also very well sought after. They seek out for law degree holders because the HR department is the department that does the hiring, the firing, the contracts, the disciplinary action, and this is all very closely related to law. Police officers, yeah, they are the ones that execute the law, correct, right? So they having a good knowledge of the law is also useful. Lecturer, this is what I do. Consultants, general management as well. A lot of companies are very well. The skills you develop, right? The skills you develop as a lawyer is somewhat sought after, right? Because of the analytical thinking, the ability to solve problems, and these are skills that are inculcated during the course of you getting your law degree. So apart from sticking strictly to being a lawyer, you can also, or legal work, you can also bring those skills into other areas. You can bring those skills into general management and things like that, and it will be useful. And the last thing that I put in this slide is compliance and regulatory departments, right? Compliance and regulatory departments. These are there definitely are departments like this in banks, insurance companies, usually financial institutions, insurance institutions, heavily regulated by the government to ensure that there is no cheating, right? So your role will be to work in these departments for the bank, for the insurance company, to ensure that they don't fall foul of the law. Right? Your role is to advise them to make sure that everything they do is strictly within the law. Okay, now look. I could go on and on, but these are just some of the other careers that you could pursue after a law degree. Now, the reason why I wanted to start off with this is quite simply this, right? A lot of people immediately when they find out, oh, this is a talk about a law degree, that means you're going to be a lawyer, they get turned off. Turned off in the sense that, look, I don't think I have the personality for law. I don't think I am someone that can speak well. I don't think I am someone that is able to go to court and argue a case and things like that, right? Look, if that is not your personality and you are sure, then a law degree also gives you an avenue to do so much more. That's the point. That's our starting point for today. That's the initial point I wanted to make. Right, a law degree is not just to be a lawyer. A law degree gives you the skills, inculcates you with the ability to do a wide range of things, and the training that you get in a law degree is useful for so many other areas as well. Right now, let's move on very quickly. Let's The rest of the talk is going to be focused on if you want to be a lawyer in Malaysia, right? So that's why I started off with all the other things that you can do. But the rest of this session, we are going to be focusing on what it's how to be a lawyer in Malaysia. What does it take? What are the regulatory requirements? And what are some myths associated with being a lawyer or becoming a lawyer, right? So in Malaysia, there are three ways, right? Three ways to get into the legal profession generally. Firstly, as you can see right on top, you have a recognized Malaysian law degree. Now, these Malaysian law degrees you can get from our public universities, which are, I mean, everybody knows, I'm sure, University of Malaya, UKM, uh, uh, UNIZA, USIM, University Science Islam Malaysia, UIA, University Islam Antarabangsa, UITM, right, University Technology Mara. So these are all universities that offer Malaysian law degrees. They will usually be 4-year degrees, and then you can go on to complete after you complete the 4-year degree, you can go directly into pupillage. Now, I will talk a little bit more about pupillage, but just so that I don't leave you hanging at this moment, let me just very quickly explain what is pupillage. Pupillage is for the legal profession after you have finished all the academic studying, the academic part of your education. For lawyers, you must spend a certain time working with a senior lawyer before you can be called to the bar, before you can become a practicing lawyer, right? So the pupillage bit in Malaysia is that you must work for a senior lawyer, and a senior lawyer is defined as at least 7 years or more, right, of experience at the bar. So with the senior lawyer, then what will happen is you work for him for 9 months, and once he is satisfied that you have attained all the necessary skills, practical skills that you need to be a lawyer, then he will sign off on your papers and then you will be a lawyer. So that's pupillage. So coming back to this, to the chart that we have here, right? So if you have done a Malaysian law degree and you complete 4 years, you can go straight into pupillage. Now, the next option is the certificate in legal practice. Now, the certificate in legal practice is an exam for all foreign law graduates. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to focus on this second limb. The second limb is what is the route that you will be taking with us at ATC if you choose to join us, right? The second route is this. You start off with a foreign law degree, a recognized foreign law degree. So at ATC, we offer you the University of London degree, the Bachelor of Laws from the University of London. And once you complete that, that takes 3 years. After that, you do 1 year of the certificate in legal practice, right, where you learn a Malaysian court procedure, a little bit of evidence, a little bit of professional practice, and things like that. Then once you're done with that, then you go into pupillage. So it's 3 years of the degree, Right? If you're doing a 3-year UK degree, it's 3 years of the degree, 1 year to do the CLP, and then you get into the Malaysian bar. No, sorry, then you get into pupillage. What am I saying, right? You get into pupillage, and once you're done with pupillage, you get into the Malaysian bar. Okay, the third route, apart from CLP, is being qualified as a barrister in the UK. So this is the UK bar qualification, right? Commonly known as the BPTC course. So this route is similar in that you have to do a UK law degree for 3 years, but after the 3-year law degree, instead of going on to do the Malaysian CLP exam, what you do is then you go on to do the UK bar exams, right? The UK bar exams. And this is also an available route if you do join us at ATC. The thing is, we can't offer the UK bar course, obviously. So after you finish the degree with us, then you will go on to do the UK bar exam in the UK. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are the three routes into the legal profession in Malaysia. Either a recognized Malaysian law degree, a 4-year Malaysian law degree, a UK or foreign law degree, and then CLP, or UK law degree, and then doing the UK bar exam, right? Um, with us at ATC, the second route is what you can do with us completely, right? So at ATC, what we'll be able to do is right after your SPM or your O-level exams, right? Right after that, or your UEC exams, you join us, do a pre-university program with us, foundation, do the degree, 3 years, do the CLP, all with us, and then we will send you off into pupillage, almost a qualified lawyer, right? Okay, next, let me talk to you about the legal profession in general, right, ladies and gentlemen? Obviously, we don't have that much time to get into the nitty-gritties of the legal profession, but in general, right, in general, the legal profession can be, in Malaysia, can be divided into three, right? Three. Number one, litigation. Number two, corporate. And number three, conveyancing. Now, at this point, I want to get back to a point that I spoke about earlier, with regard to personalities, right? A lot of people have a sort of a misconception, or they have a perception that you need to be of a certain type of personality, you need to be a certain type of person to be a lawyer, right? So the common misconception that I've heard, you need to be a very well spoken person, you need to be an aggressive personality. You need to be someone that is unafraid of taking on people, things like that, right? Um, all these are, of course, very good. But you see, the legal profession is wide enough to accommodate all types of personalities, right? So if you are there, you are a student, you're sitting there and you're thinking, look, in class, I am not the type that likes to answer questions. When I'm with my friends, I'm the quietest. I don't really like to speak like what you are doing now, Daniel. It's not something I enjoy doing, right? I'm very afraid of public speaking. But I enjoy the law. I like to read about the law. I like to read about constitutional matters. I like to read about criminal matters. I think I have an aptitude for the law, but I don't have the personality for law. Ladies and gentlemen, I am here to tell you that that is not the most important thing, right? That is not something that should stop you from pursuing a degree in law. Why? Because, like I said, the legal profession is quite neatly divided, and it kind of allows an opportunity for many types of people. So let's start off with litigation. Obviously, litigation is the most obvious branch of the legal profession. You've seen this in movies, you see this in courts all the time, where the lawyers wear the robes and the suits and the bibs or the ties, and they go to court. They stand up in front of a judge, they make an argument, they present their case, they cross-examine witnesses, they examine witnesses, right? This is litigation. Litigation can be in any area. So there can be a corporate litigation, there can be family litigation, divorces and such, criminal litigation, right? intellectual property litigation. So litigation is a skill or a branch of the profession that can be, and you can litigate in any area, right? Okay, then there are corporate lawyers, right? Now, corporate lawyers, their role is very, as the name would suggest, right? Deal with a lot of corporate matters. Specifically, you see all these initials that are put in the slide. M&A is mergers and acquisitions. When one company buys another company, you need lawyers to help you sort that out. IPOs are initial public offerings, right? That means when you want to list your company in the stock market, you need lawyers to help you out, right? Due diligence. If you want to do a search about the liabilities of a company, let's say, for example, you are looking to buy a company or you're looking to invest in a company, you want it done properly, that's due diligence. And advisory, right? Advisory is for, um, let's say, big companies want to start a business in another country, or they want to start a business, a branch of their business in Malaysia. What are their liabilities? What can they do? What can they not do? So the corporate lawyer will prepare an opinion, is what it's called, right? An opinion, a legal opinion, and send it to them so that they will be well advised of their rights, right? They will be well advised of their rights when they do something. So that's corporate work. And lastly, there's also conveyancing, right? So what's conveyancing, right? Conveyancing is lawyers that deal with sale and purchase of documents, right? Sale and purchase of property. So they deal with the sale and purchase documents. Um, they are not necessarily needed in court so much, and even if any of the documents that they have prepared needs to be litigated upon, they can then transfer or engage a litigation lawyer. So again, what's the point of this slide? The point of this is simply to say that if you feel that you are someone that is not suited for going to court and doing something, putting up an argument in front of a judge, then, ladies and gentlemen, you can do corporate work. Corporate work, there's very little court work, right? Or conveyancing, even less court work, in my opinion, right? So there is room in the profession. So that's what I'm trying to say, right? There is room in the profession for all types of people, all types of personalities, as long as you enjoy the law, you have an aptitude for the law, right? And you'd be surprised, most people do. Okay, let's take a look at this. Especially if you are someone who's just finished your SPM exams or O levels, the question on everybody's mind is, what is the pathway? What do I need to do to reach my goal of becoming a lawyer? So at SPM level or O levels, right? If that's what you've done, you need a minimum of 5 credits. Now, this is to do the University of London program here with ATC. So as you can see, this slide is specifically talking about the law program that you are able to get at ATC if you are interested. You need a minimum of 5 credits. So let me talk about this for a while. Every time I explain this, people get very surprised and they ask me things like, "Oh, is that true? Can I be a lawyer? I thought to be a lawyer, my marks must be very high, must be very good. Surely I need a 10 A's or 9 A's or something like that." You're right. 9 A's or 10 A's is good, and you will probably it will be good for you on the law degree. But because the program that we are offering at ATC is what we call an external program, right? Meaning you don't actually go to the university to study. You can study it anywhere. So you can study it at ATC. And the degree that you will get is a University of London degree, a UK law degree. So because of that, and because there are no space constraints at the university allows anyone with a minimum aptitude to do the degree program. Now, the quality is maintained because not everybody who starts on the program will finish the program, obviously. But anyone who has the minimum standards and who is interested will not be denied a chance to study. That's the policy of the University of London. That's the ethos of the University of London, and they've been doing it for close to 170 years now, right? The University of London was the first university to offer distance learning. The University of London was the first university to offer degree programs to women, right? To non-white men. So the University of London has long had a history of being inclusive, right? And that, ladies and gentlemen, explains the entry requirements, right? Let's get back to this, right? So you will need 5 credits. Where is my, yeah. So you'll need 5 credits. You must have a credit in BM as well, Bahasa Malaysia. Even if you did O levels, there is a Malay paper that you could have done. So once you're done with the SPM, then you'll move on to the STPM or the or equivalent, right? And what are the recognized equivalents? Ladies and gentlemen, follow me closely on this. The recognized equivalents are the A levels program. Singapore A levels is also recognized, but usually it's the UK A levels, foundation programs, a recognized diploma, right? These are all programs that are recognized for the purposes of becoming or doing the law degree. Now, this is where you can start your journey with us at ATC. So instead of doing the STPM in school, which you can, right? Not a problem. If you chose to do the STPM, you will need 2 credits, which is a C or better. C minus won't be accepted, right? Uh, but other than that, if you chose not to do the STPM, you can join us and do the foundation program. You can join us and do the A levels program, right? We, of course, highly recommend our foundation program. We've got a foundation in law. This foundation in law prepares you well for the law degree. This foundation in law prepares you well to get ready, right? To move into undergraduate law studies, right? Undergraduate law studies. Um, it's a 1 year course. And once you finish the foundation in law here with us, then you can move on to do your degree. But if you decide not to do your foundation and you want to do A levels, perfectly fine. You can do that with us as well. Or let's say, for example, some of you may have diplomas and you started working for a while, for whatever reason, for financial reasons or lack of opportunity. So you've worked for a few years, you've got some money, you want to continue studying. You didn't do A levels or STPM, but you've got a diploma in even business, a diploma in graphic design, a diploma in culinary arts, or whatever, right? As long as it's a recognized diploma, you can use that to enter into the law degree. The university recognizes that diploma as a pre-university equivalent. Right. So we've spoken about the SPM and the STPM. Let's move on. So obviously, after you finish your STPM or STPM equivalent, then you start on the law degree. The law degree that we offer here at ATC is the University of London Bachelor of Laws degree that is done entirely externally, meaning you do it here with us at ATC, right? But the degree that you will get is a degree from the University of London. Now, do me a favor after this session, go and look up the University of London, and you will find that it is an extremely prestigious university. And we will be talking a little bit more about the University of London shortly in my presentation as well. Now, if you choose to do the University of London degree, then obviously it's a 3 year course. I've put in my slide 4 years is if you've chosen to do another degree, let's say from Australia. Australian degrees are sometimes 4 years, and some dual degree programs in Australia are 5 years, right? They're all recognized as well, right, for the purposes of doing the becoming a lawyer in Malaysia. Okay, so if you've done this ATC route with me, then at this point, what you have is you have a UK law degree from the University of London. Does that make you a lawyer? No. Right? At this point, you are a graduate. You have a degree in law, but you are not a lawyer yet. So what do you need to do? You need to do a postgraduate qualification, the professional qualification. In Malaysia, this professional qualification is called the CLP exams, the Certificate in Legal Practice. You can do this CLP with us as well, right? At ATC. So now this CLP, what is the reason for that you have to sit for the CLP exam? The reason is quite simply this: uh, everyone with a recognized foreign degree, means not Malaysian law degree, you need to sit for the CLP exam. Because in the CLP, what you will learn is you will learn Malaysian court procedure. Uh, well, number one, you don't really learn court procedure at undergraduate, but you definitely wouldn't have learned Malaysian court procedure in a UK law degree, right? So it's the CLP exam is to prepare you for practice in Malaysia. But as I told you earlier, if you choose not to do the CLP, the Certificate in Legal Practice, you can also then go on to do the UK bar exams, which means that you qualify to be a barrister in the UK, right? You qualify to be a barrister in the UK. Um, you can right after doing your degree with us here in ATC, you can apply to do the bar exam and you can go on to do it in the UK. The bar exam must be done in the UK, quite obviously, right? Okay, so once you're done with your CLP or you're done with your bar exams, then comes pupillage, right? We spoke a little bit about pupillage earlier, right? Sometimes you may have heard your friends or your seniors who are doing law, they may have referred to it as chambering, right? Yes, in Malaysia, sometimes this term is called chambering as well, but the proper term for it is pupillage. You are a pupil in chambers. That's the term, right? You're a pupil in chambers. Now, why? Why is this there? A lot of people have asked me, is this like an internship? I suppose if you had to put a label to it, yeah, it is an internship. But the difference being that you must comply, you must do this pupillage before you can be a lawyer, right? Uh, the pupillage period is absolutely vital and important because when you become a lawyer, you literally are dealing with people's lives, especially in Malaysia because we still have the death penalty, right? So you could be defending a person who has been charged with a crime that the punishment could be mandatory death, right? You could be dealing with a case where your client is um, stands to lose millions of ringgit, tens of millions of ringgit, right? So if you are fresh out of college or university and you haven't had any practical knowledge yet, you are going to struggle in practice. So the entire legal profession is designed in a way that you must have some element of practical knowledge, right? There's some history to this as well, if you are at all interested, right? A long time ago, there were no, you didn't need to go to university to be a lawyer. You just needed to have a lawyer accept you as a pupil, and you worked for him for many many years, and then you became a lawyer. But this is a long time ago. We're talking 300 and 400 years ago, right? That's how lawyers were trained. But now you have to go to university, you get a degree, and then that element of that practical training is still so important that it is still retained. So that's the 9 months you have to do. Then, once you finish that, ladies and gentlemen, you are then called to the Malaysian bar, right? You are what is known as an advocate and solicitor of the High Court of Malaya. Now, if you are called in Semenanjung, Malaysia, or the Peninsula, Malaysia, then you will be an advocate and solicitor of the High Court of Malaya. Yes, I'm saying it right. It's not a typo. It's not Malaysia. It's the High Court of Malaya. If you are called to the bar in either the Sabah or Sarawak High Courts, then you will be an advocate and solicitor of the High Court of Sabah and Sarawak, right? In Malaysia, what we have is what we call a fused profession. A fused profession means that all lawyers are both advocates and solicitors. In the UK, it's a separated profession. So you train to become either a barrister or an advocate, right? Or you train to become a solicitor, right? Now, this is all very interesting stuff. And if you want more explanation of this, you can ask questions, and I'll be happy to explain a little bit further on that. Okay, so very quickly, just to summarize what I've just been telling you, right? If you chose to start with us in July 2020, on the foundation program, right? If you chose to start with us July 2020 on the foundation program, you will start the degree in September 2021 because the foundation program is a 1 year course. Then this degree course is 3 years, right? So it's 3 years. So you will finish that in 2024 August. And once you've cleared that, you are a degree holder. You will start the CLP in September of 2024. That's a 1 year course. You will complete that somewhere in June, July. You will get your results by September of the following year, 2025. And if you pass, you can immediately start your pupillage in October 2025. And ladies and gentlemen, you can be an advocate and solicitor of the High Court of Malaya by August 2026. That's right, right? It is. It seems like a long and a far away goal right now, but it's a very, very achievable goal, ladies and gentlemen. Start now, right? Start now. Join us on the take the first step and do the foundation program in July with us. And in August 2026, if you study hard, if you do all the necessary work and you pass all your exams, you will be a lawyer, right? A fully qualified lawyer in the High Court of Malaya. Okay, let's address a few myths, right? Usually associated with the law degree. I want to just touch on that very quickly, right? Um, do I have to read and memorize a lot? Well, there's no degree that you don't have to read, I'm assuming, right? So yeah, you have to read and memorize, but in my opinion, it's no more than any other professional degree, right? You want something good, you want something useful, there's some work involved. But the point I'm making is it's not a pure memory exam. And that's a mistake a lot of people make. It's not a pure memory exam. It's not just about memorizing dates and memorizing cases or things. It's not. It's not. The skills you learn from a law degree are skills that will enable you to use the law. That is what you take away from the law degree. No, nobody comes out of a law degree having every single law in their head. That's just silly because laws are so easily available. You buy a book, you buy the statute, you read the law. It's all on your phone now. It's all on your computers. So it's not a memory exam. It's not a memory test. The skill that you develop as after getting a law degree is the ability to understand a law, to read it, understand it, because law has a language of its own, right? To read it, to understand it, and then to use it and to apply it. That's the skill you learn from a law degree. Must my language skills be very good? Look, language, words are the tools of the trade for a lawyer. But if you are sitting there thinking, oh, English is not my first language, Malay is not my first language, I don't think I get proper grammar, my Malay is not so good, right? Don't worry. After having done a 3 year law degree, inevitably your language skills get better. Inevitably, right? Inevitably, right? And once again, this is not an English exam. It's a law exam. The examiners, right, at the University of London, the people who are marking your exam papers, are not too concerned about how well you phrase your sentences, what language what words you use, what fancy Shakespearean language you use, or something like that. They're not too concerned with that. As long as you are able to use the language in a way to convey what you're trying to say, that's enough. That's it. So don't be put off. Don't worry. Don't sit there in the corner thinking, "Oh, my English is no good, and so I can't be a lawyer." That's absolutely ridiculous. Like I said, good language skills help, but it doesn't mean that you cannot be a good lawyer if you don't speak English well, right? Must I have an aggressive personality, or must I be someone who's very sociable or like to talk to people? Um, no, we addressed this earlier. There is enough room in the legal profession for all types of personalities, right? I don't like to go to court. Can I still be a lawyer? Yes, we also addressed this earlier. Remember, there are branches of the legal profession or areas that you can focus on where you hardly ever go to court. Next question. What if I don't understand the law and the cases? That's what we are here for at APC, right? We have been doing this for more than 30 years and we know how to, how to make you understand what you need to understand and how to get you the best education that you can get. What if I fail my exam? Ladies and gentlemen, failure shouldn't be um, feared, right? Failure shouldn't be feared. What you should fear is failing and not coming back from that failure. So effectively, what we're saying is, look, sometimes it happens. Even to the best of lawyers that are out there in practice now, if you ask them, I'm sure there are more than a few that have failed a few papers here and there along the way in their degree, right? If you fail, the University of London program is flexible enough that it allows you to just resit the paper that you have failed so you don't lose a year. You don't lose time, right? You can resit the paper the same year in October. The main exams are in June, in October, and you can move on if you have passed it the second time. You never have to do a paper that you have passed again. Okay, very quickly, let me introduce you the University of London. Please go back after this if you enjoyed the talk. Go and check out the University of London. I will give you the website at the end of this chat. The University of London, like I told you earlier, is the first university to offer degrees at distance, starting in 1858, and it was established earlier by Royal Charter. This is a university that's been around for a very long time, and it is an extremely prestigious university. Now, like many of these older universities, they are a consortium or they are an amalgamation of many colleges. And the University of London colleges you will find are colleges that are top schools on their own right. For example, King's College is a University of London um, component college. Queen Mary University it's a University of London component college. The London School of Economics and Political Science, LSC as it's commonly known, is a University of London component college. SOAS, School of Oriental and African Studies, University of London. You see, right? And you, ladies and gentlemen, if you join us, you will be a University of London degree holder, right? And the university guarantees, ladies and gentlemen, let me assure you to this point here, the university guarantees that if you have obtained a degree from the University of London, regardless of your mode of study or place of study, you have the same quality assured in your degree. All potential employers will know when they see the University of London stamp on your degree, they know that you have come up to the same standards as if you had gone to any one of those component colleges I told you earlier, right? Right? So this is a good thing, right? So among the value of you doing your law degree with us at APC that you can finish the entire law degree here and you don't have to go to the UK at all and still graduate with a UK law degree. I'm going to take 2 minutes here to talk about degree transfer programs. Degree transfer programs are great, but once you join a degree transfer program or a UK transfer program, so maybe a 2+1 or a 1+2, right? 2 years here, 1 year in the UK, you must go to the UK. You must. You can't finish it here after that. Let's say, for example, something happens and there's a financial issue, you can't finish it here. You must go to the UK. The University of London program, ladies and gentlemen, affords you this flexibility. You can either choose to finish it entirely here in Malaysia at ATC and get a UK law degree, or after 2 years or 1 year, you can transfer to another UK university. It will just be seen as transferring from one school to another school because even though you're studying with us here in ATC in Malaysia, it is actually a UK law degree that you are studying for, right? Okay, then a few words about ATC. ATC has been around for a long time, ladies and gentlemen, right? It's been around since 1987. We've got campuses in KL and Penang. So if you are from the northern part of Semenanjung, Malaysia, Kedah, Perlis, even the northern part of Perak, then you should get in touch with our Penang school, right? We also offer the law degree there. But if you are not, and you are, the southern part of Perak, Selangor, KL, maybe even Johor, the East Coast, Sabah and Sarawak, give us a call in KL, right? We have sent so many, more than 10,000 law graduates into practice or into a variety of fields that they are in, right? Um, we have had outstanding results on the University of London program. This University of London program is an extremely prestigious program. And so getting good marks on the program is something that is sought after very much. And here at ATC, right, we do it for you. These are some very quickly some pictures of our college. We are in the process of moving to new premises. It'll be bigger, nicer. But in the meantime, this is our current building, right? This is our current building. You can just take a look at our computer lab. This is our computer lab. This is our moot court, right? A moot court is where we do mock trials, right? Mock trials. This is also to train your advocacy skills, right? To be able to present arguments to a panel of judges. It's a very important skill to develop, right? These are some of the facilities. This is one of our classrooms here, our lecture theater at ATC, right? Okay, I won't bore you with all these statistics, but if you were interested, please let me know, and I can send you. These are our top students for many, many years who have done extremely well on the University of London program. This is the Malaysian Law Scholarship, ladies and gentlemen. The Malaysian Law Scholarship is awarded to one Malaysian every year who is the best year one law student in the country. ATC has won the most. ATC students have won the most number of these scholarships, right? Have won the most number of these scholarships. That just goes to show you the quality that we offer here, because to be the single best student in the entire year one of the University of London program in Malaysia is a big deal. Okay, we are nearing the end of my presentation now, right? I just wanted to tell you that at ATC, we offer a variety of scholarships on merit. So I don't know if this is clear and you can see what I've put on the board. But if you can't, please get in touch with us and we'll be happy to send this to you, right? Um, we have scholarships for SPM leavers if you have 8 A's and above, 7 A's, 6 A's, A levels, STPM, UEC, so on and so forth, right? So if you have good results, come and see us. If you have good results, come and see us. We will be happy to make your dreams come true. But today I want to take a few minutes to talk about this. ATC cares. ATC cares. So things have been tough in Malaysia, right? Things have been tough. So what ATC has decided is that we have started a scholarship fund. If you are from the B40 community, meaning that your family income is 4,000 ringgit and below. I repeat that. If your family income is 4,000 ringgit and below, come and see us. We will give you 100% scholarship of our course fee, right? So if there's any external fees to be paid, you still need to pay. Registration fee, you still need to pay. But the bulk of your fees, which is the ATC course fee, you don't have to pay. This is just our way of giving back to society. This is our way of helping Malaysians during this tough time, right? So call us to find out more about ATC Cares, right? Yeah, so that's the end of my talk. I think I was given 40 minutes and I've gone to 45 minutes already. So right here on the slide is my name, my email address, the website of ATC, the website of the University of London, right? So if you are watching us, please go to our Facebook page, go to our Instagram page, uh, follow us there, like us, so that you will be updated with what we're doing here, right? Yeah, I think that's the end of my session today, right? So
Hi, Mr. Daniel. Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
yes, yes, I can.
Yeah,
Just
all right.
trying to figure out how to stop this. Okay, good.
Yeah, I already removed it from the stream. All right, so we are now nearing the end of the session. Mr. Daniel, you were very, very comprehensive with your explanation. Let's take a look to see if there are any questions from our audience. I think, Mr. Daniel, you can see the questions on the side. It's just right underneath the EduAdvisor comment. You want to choose which question you'd like to answer, or shall we go through all of them?
I haven't seen the. Oh, okay, okay, yeah,
Yeah, so
fine.
the live comment section there, yeah.
Sure. Okay,
So
so
there's
are these
one,
all comments for us? Yeah.
yes,
Oh no, I
yes.
saw
Some of them.
aerospace engineers.
Which one are we looking at, Mr. Daniel? The first one? This one here.
Further
You
down,
gotta
I see.
scroll down, yeah.
Okay, okay, yeah, sure. Nadine,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's say if I want to be a judge after I pass everything and qualify, do I be a judge? After that, do I need to work as a lawyer? No, you cannot be a judge immediately, right? In order to be a judge, you need a lot of experience as a practitioner first. However, in Malaysia, what you can do is you can join the AG's chambers. That means you join the service, right? Join the AG's chambers, and when I say AG, I mean the Attorney General, right? So you join the Attorney General's chambers, and there you can be a magistrate. A magistrate is like a judge, but technically we can't call you a judge. You're a judge at one of the lower courts, right? So you can be a magistrate first, and then you work hard. You can get promoted to be a sessions court judge. Then you move on into the judiciary, which is the high court judge. But if you don't choose that route, and you want to go straight to become a high court judge, you can't. You must have at least 10 to 15 years of practice before you will even be considered, right? So if you did want to be a judge straight away, then yeah, the Attorney General's chambers is a good avenue. And once you're there, you will apply to become a magistrate, but it's not necessarily that you will get to be a magistrate immediately. They may make you a prosecutor first. They may make you a federal counsel. So that's one way. Yes.
All right. Okay. So I hope Nadine have know that she can have to go through the magistrate in order to become a judge. Let's answer the next one from Naomi Hui. I'm just gonna show it up on the screen. Yeah, Mr. Daniel.
Okay, that's great.
All right.
May I ask if you would like to study overseas and work in Malaysia? What route would that be, CLP or BPTC? Well, that depends. At which point do you want to study in the UK? So, uh, a good thing to do, in my opinion, is do the degree in Malaysia and then do the BPTC in the UK. Right? Because if you ask me between the BPTC and the CLP, I think the BPTC provides you with better training, right? The law degree is pretty much the same because even if you study here in Malaysia, you're studying for a UK law degree, right? So do the degree here and then go and do the BPTC. I think that would be a good way of doing it if you wanted to do 1 year in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you don't have to. You can do your entire UK law degree here in Malaysia and then do your CLP in Malaysia and still start practice, right?
All right. Okay. Okay. There's another one here by Cassie Tay. It's very long, but I'm just gonna pull it up into the stream. Oh, okay. So she has
Okay,
four
Cassie.
questions.
Okay, let me try. What is the likeliness of getting hired as a lawyer overseas? Okay, let's address that first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Look, it depends on your qualifications. Law is different from other fields in the sense that it's unique to each country, right? So every country has its own requirements, every country has its own jurisdiction. So let's say, for example, if you did a Australian law degree, you can't take an Australian law degree and go and practice in Japan, let's say, for example,
Mm.
because the system is entirely different in Japan. Now, it is a lot more transferable in Commonwealth countries because we all follow
Right.
pretty much the same system, right? The
Right.
UK
Right.
system. So that is why in Malaysia, even though you do the UK bar qualification, you still can practice in Malaysia. But my
Mm-hmm.
answer to your question, Cassie, is it may not be a satisfactory answer, but the answer is it really depends. You need to do research on every country that you think that you want to practice in. So let's say, for
Mm-hmm.
example, you want to practice in Hong Kong. Find out what are the requirements for Hong Kong. You want to practice in Australia. Find out what are the requirements in Australia so that you take the right steps during your degree, because you may have worked hard and done the University of London degree or some other university degree only to find that it's not recognized in that particular country. So with law there is no universal rule that you can follow. Okay, Cassie's second question: is it
Mm-hmm.
really possible to become a lawyer without SPM qualifications? Well, yeah, it's possible, but in Malaysia, you can, as long as you have an equivalent to SPM, which is the O levels. So you can, right? But you must have a Malay paper in your O levels or SPM Malay.
Mm.
You must have that. Number three. So again, let me just come back to question number two so that there's no
All
confusion.
right.
I'm not saying that you don't. That means if you fail your SPM, you can be a lawyer. No. So if you didn't do this, you fail your SPM, that's fine. You do your SPM again, or you do your O levels. So it's one or the other, right? You
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have any, you cannot be a lawyer. Okay. What is the reality of being a lawyer? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's an extremely wide question. Okay, but
Yeah.
let me tell you this. For me, this is the reality of being a lawyer. I was in practice before as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think when you are a lawyer, you have the tools to actually do something other than just sitting around and complaining. Sometimes we are angry with people, we are angry with the government, we are angry with our neighbor, we are angry with this and we're angry. And what do? We rant on social media, isn't it? Right?
Mm-hmm.
But that counts for nothing. I've got very little respect for people who rant on social media with no basis, right? So the point is this: if you have a law degree and you're qualified as a lawyer, you now have the ability and the skills to do something about it. You can take an action against the government. If you see someone abusing someone who is maybe less educated or not as rich or not as powerful, you can help that person. It's within your power to help, and you can. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why this degree is it's a it's a good one. It's a wonderful one. The
Yeah.
skills that you will get is extremely useful.
Mm-hmm.
What are the types of lawyers and various work required to be done by each? Cassie, I'm going to skip this question because I
Yeah.
addressed this in great detail during my talk as well. So I'm sure you can catch the video on this
Yeah.
page
Yeah.
anytime, right, Mina?
Yeah, because all these questions that we received from under EduAdvisor were questions that we collected yesterday and this
Sure,
morning.
sure,
So I think it's prior to the interview. All right, so let's just
sure.
jump to our let's just jump to one question here by Irisa Chayiling. She's not doing her history in IGCSE. Does she need to take a subject to be able to study law in the UK, preferably?
No, you don't. No, you don't. Right? Most UK universities as well, they just require a certain number of IGCSEs. There's no subject
Hmm.
required. This learning history to study law thing is a myth. Right? It's not true. You don't need it. You could do 5 science papers and still do a law degree. Not a problem.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oops. All right. Okay. So let's just do another one from William Tong. Yeah, this is a very specific question.
Okay. William Tong. So diploma in law enforcement. So I don't know if you are in any kind of law enforcement agency like the police or the MACC or whatever, right? But yeah, the answer to your question is yes. If you do a diploma in law enforcement and can I emphasize that it is a recognized diploma by the MQA, the Malaysian Qualifications Agency. Then you can start on the law degree right after that, right? In 2021, you can start, right? Is law high in demand in Malaysia? My answer is yes, right? And we
Hmm.
spoke about this earlier as well. You don't just need to be a lawyer, right? You can do so many other things with the law degree. And since you're already going in this field of law enforcement, if you have a law degree, you can join the police force and you will immediately be an inspector, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with a law degree, you join as an officer, so you don't have to work your way up rank and file, right? So that's something useful. So the fact that you're doing a diploma in law enforcement kind of tells me that that may be an area that you are interested in. So yeah, do the degree, go on to become a lawyer, yes, but if not, you can be a policeman. You can be you can serve in so many ways, right?
All right. Okay, and we have one last question here
Okay,
by
okay.
Alam Gunn. Is there a period in which you must finish your degree? And then here's another one here that says like in a maximum number of years.
Yes, yes. There is. You can't keep studying forever. You must complete your degree within 7 years.
Mm. Right, right.
The minimum is 3 years, but the
Mm-hmm.
university gives you up to 7 years. And then, on certain special circumstances, if you really need to appeal for further time, you can, right? Now, this is
Okay.
something to think about because the degree can be done part time as well, right? So, if you wanted to take a longer time, you could, yeah, but 7 years is the most.
Right. I'm not sure if you guys are hearing any interruption, but the birds in my housing area are going off right now. It's very, very loud. But yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Daniel, for sharing with us, for giving us an insight of what it's like to be a lawyer in Malaysia and how do you actually proceed to become one, and also the variety of career options under this particular field.
Well, sorry, Mr. Alam Gun has just
Oh,
added one
another
more thing there.
question. Oh, okay. Let's just
OKU
go ahead.
person.
Yeah.
So can I just very quickly say that yeah, I mean even if you are an OKU, please feel free. Don't feel that you are disadvantaged, especially in a degree in law. And depending on what type of disability you have, you can get special concessions from the university as well when you're doing exams, right?
Right.
So come and speak to us if you are interested, right?
All right, there you have it, Alan. There obviously is no stopping for anyone who wants to pursue law. There's no limitations or whatsoever. So if there's anything, you guys can go ahead and speak to Mr. Daniel, or just go ahead to ATC and visit their booth at our virtual education fair. So thank you so much, Mr. Daniel, for your insights and perspective. We hope that our audience has gained some valuable information from this session. Thank you again, Mr. Daniel. We hope that we get to see you again for our next webinar as always.
Yes. Thank you. I always enjoy my time at EduAdvisor. Right. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye bye. All right, so there you have it. There we have Mr. Daniel Abhishekam. So to our audience who just tuned in, we just finished our session with Mr. Daniel Abhishekam of ATC. We covered the topic of studying law. Up next, we have Dr. Ong Jin Seong, Assistant Dean of Clinical Affairs at Newcastle University, Medicine, Malaysia, who will share with you everything you need to know about becoming a doctor. So don't go anywhere and stay tuned for more. In the meantime, for those of you who haven't visited our EduAdvisor virtual fair, please do so. You can visit the booth. You can particularly visit ATC for any information regarding studying law. Hold on, yeah. Yeah, you can visit the booth and find out all you need to know about studying law, courses, scholarships. I think as mentioned by Mr. Daniel, they do have a lot of scholarships. They do have this thing called ATC Care. So even if you are in the underprivileged sector, you can still pursue your study. And just like what Ms. Nan said, even if you have disabilities, you can still pursue your study. There's no stopping in pursuing this particular field. However, if you are one of the troops who don't know what you want to pursue or what you want to study, do not worry, as our fair we have quizzes, personality tests for you to go and check out. All you have to do is just visit the fair. Then on the right top of the banner, you will have this thing called quizzes. So you have personality quizzes. We have one that you can check your career pathway. You to see if you're an introvert or an extrovert. So we have all these things. Just take the test and then get the result, and you just see which courses suits your personality. I'm just gonna go ahead and do a quick screen sharing here for all of you who's watching, so that you guys can have a quick glance of what our fair looks like. Yeah, while we wait for Dr. Ong to join our um, session. Hold on, yeah. Let me just go ahead and share screen with you guys. All right, okay. So we'll be sharing screen. So as you can see, this is what the EduAdvisor Fair looks like. We have universities here, we have Herod Watt, Ames, Uni10. All you have to do is just go onto this button at the side and start scrolling. You can check out all the universities. This is Visit ATC. Yeah. So ATC have all these, they have brochures and courses and scholarships that you can go through. So all you have to do, you can just click on all these courses. Apologies here for the very, very slow internet connection, but it's okay, we're back here. So you can just click on the courses, scholarships, even brochures to download at ATC's booth itself. If you want to know more about ATC, you can just click on the About Us feature and you can have all that you need to know about it here. And don't worry, you can also chat with the counselors. Yeah, you can just click chat now. And mind you that these are not robots. People who will be answering your questions are not robots. They're real people. They will get onto your request as soon as possible. All you have to do is just fill in your details. What are your questions, so that they can assess your questions beforehand. And for those of you who don't know what you want to study, this is what I mentioned about the quizzes area. You can just click quizzes and it will show you a bunch of personality tests that you can take. So from which pre-U should you take, to discovering your ideal career path, if you're an extrovert or introvert, and if you're prepared for college. It's as simple as that. So you can join in our fairs, you can join our webinar to gain information. You don't have to be somebody who wants to pursue your tertiary education. It could just be anyone from high school. It's okay. The more knowledge you get, the better. And also, do catch our next webinar series that's happening. We have one going on later with Dr. Ong, and then we have one later at 5 p.m. So yeah, this is basically how it looks like on the live webinar, and this is the schedule. So tomorrow, please stay tuned as well tomorrow as we go through topics such as biotechnology, mechanical engineering, dentistry, and even manufacturing. Yeah, sorry. So everything is all here at our fair. So right now, let's just wait for Dr. Ong to join in the webinar. I think. Oops. Yeah. All right. Dr. Ong is here. Hi, doctor.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
doctor.
Sorry.
How are you, doctor?
I'm okay now.
All right. Okay, so for those of you who just tuned in, we have Dr. Ong Jing Xiong from Newcastle University, Medicine, Malaysia. So what we do in our webinar is that we have academicians and industry professionals. So we bring in a number of topics ranging from choosing an education pathway to jobs and careers. For those who just tuned in, my name is Nina. We have our guest speaker here for today, Dr. Ong Jin Xiang, who will be sharing with you about the how-tos for you to become a doctor. Yeah. So a little background. Yeah, Dr. Ong. Dr. Ong has been in the medical education in a variety of capacities, leading several cases of the medical education courses at NUMED. Newcastle University. Trained at the Royal College of Surgeons um, in Ireland, Dr. Ong was awarded the membership of the Royal College of General Practitioners as a family medicine specialist and worked in UK general practice for 20 years. So 2 years of which he was anointed as one of the three GPs for North Durham Clinical Commissioning Group to oversee a 300 million pounds in healthcare delivery. So he is currently the Assistant Dean of Clinical Affairs of Newcastle University Medicine, Malaysia. So for those of you in our audience asking why is Dr. Ong not showing his face, yeah, just a quick um, sharing here that Dr. Ong has just been through a very an accident early this morning. So for certain circumstances and situation, Dr. Ong will remain to be in this a blank screen, so only his photos will be here. But don't worry, the presentation will still continue. Um, so before we start, yeah, Dr. Ong, to our audience who have any questions, please do leave a comment. If you want to study medicine, you are welcome to leave your questions and comment in the comment below. Yeah. Dr. Ong, are you ready to present your slides now?
Yes, absolutely.
All
Actually,
right. Yeah.
I'm quite happy to turn on my camera. It's just that I'm on a t-shirt and I
Oh,
didn't comb my hair. I just came up from the hospital, so I'm fine.
all right. Okay, that's great. Thank you for
Yeah,
being such a sport, Dr. Ong.
yeah. So what happened is it wasn't nothing. It wasn't anything major. It was just I was just not paying attention on the bicycle. Luckily, with my helmet, with all the medical advice, we should always
Yeah.
put on a helmet. And a dog attacked me, and I fell off the bike at a quite
Oh
high speed.
no.
So I've broken my pelvic bone,
Oh
but at least
no.
my head is intact with the helmet.
Thank you so much for being a
Yeah.
thank you so much
Okay.
for being a sport and to participate in our webinar now. Dr. Ong, you may share your screen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Share. So, can you all see the screen?
Hold on, yeah. Let me just pull it up into the live stream. Yes, there it is. All right, Dr. Ong, you may take it away.
Okay. So today I was asked to talk about um, a topic that is close to a lot of people's hearts. That do you really want to be a doctor? You know, what does it take for you to become a doctor? Rather than I will give you towards the end a little bit of a specific skills or interview technique so that you can have a better chance of getting in. And but I think more importantly is for you to choose carefully what you want to do instead of rushing in and end up regretting it. So the title today is So You Want to Be a Doctor. There's quite a few things that we need to consider. So the first thing is, are you sure? And it's not just a career. For the majority of people, it's their whole life after this medical degree. And it's not just a medical degree. I think with a lot of professional degree, they are very, very similar, not just medicine. For example, as a doctor, you will have to behave a very certain way and behave professionally, whether you are in your clinic or in the hospital or whether you're outside sitting in a restaurant eating. And the last thing you want is to tarnish the image of the profession by misbehaving outside, by doing various sort of activities that you do. But by the way, falling off a bicycle is an accident. So it's not unprofessional. Well, maybe I'm not professional at riding, maybe that's why. But anyway, that's joking aside. So the first thing is, are you sure? Because it will take over your whole life for most people once you decided to sign into a medical profession, and there's certain ways that you need to conduct yourself and behave with yourself, not just the knowledge base. And also, like most professions nowadays, very, very few professions that you get to do that you will learn certain skills and you will do the same thing again and again and again forever. we're still in the computing industry because everything keeps changing all the time. Same thing in medicine. Things keep changing all the time that you have to keep up to date. So there's no the end of studying. So it will be with you for the rest of your life until the day that when you decided to stop practicing. But even then, when I see my friends who have stopped practicing, the continuous professionalism development still continue because there are people still asking them questions. And surely they didn't want to sound like they didn't know anything about medicine after having practiced for about 30 to 40 years. So are you sure? This is a very, very big undertaking to get into the career. And why am I stressing so much about it? Because I want to make sure that you're completely sure why you want to do it. Because the big reason is there's a lot of studies have shown 2/3 of men, 3/4 of women doctors had at some point regretted their decision to do medicine because it's such a long career. So the number of people who regretted at some point maybe due to some incident that happened at work, or maybe due to also the reason. I'm sure the similar sort of studies have done for other professional degrees like law and engineering, and maybe they have some figures as well. But in medicine, the figures is actually fairly high. And if we look at the second point, where at the 5 years after qualification, and still up to 14 to 19% of men and women are still regretting that they actually did it. So that's 5 years after qualification, which is the degree itself took 5 years minimum to start with. So 10 years after getting in university, they're still regretting. And so again, that's something that is very, very important to make you aware. There are things like this. 10 to 15% of doctors leave after 2 years after graduation. But this is not such a, well, ideally for a medical school, when we produce doctors, for most countries, they tend to match the numbers of the medical students. I've practiced in the UK for a long time. So most of the medical students number is carefully monitored so that there is enough doctors to serve the population. In Malaysia, things may have gone slightly over for a little bit, but to be fair, Malaysia still need lots and lots of specialist doctors. So that's why they're trying to expand the number. But unfortunately, because it's the postgraduate training that's kind of holding people back a little bit, that's why there's all this news about too many doctors in Malaysia. And I can tell you now, there's not enough doctors in Malaysia. There's not enough specialists or senior doctors. There may be too many doctors at the junior level at the moment. But things will start to ease off when the specialist training programs start to improve. And so a lot of people, because they're regretting it, is because they just didn't have a proper career advice. I remember in my days when I was doing my A-levels or O-levels, trying to ask for career advice. You ask a doctor, they'll tell you don't be a doctor. And you ask a non-doctor, they'll tell you yes, be a doctor. You ask a career school counselor. In those days, we didn't have school counselor, and I suspect most of the school counselors will probably not have done a medical degree. So it's difficult for them to actually give you this kind of advice. So in Malaysia, there's a lot of headlines saying that 1 in 5 quit their training job while they're training. That's why it's so important for us to stress the point: are you sure? Are you really, really sure this is something that you want to get into? Okay, and the third point there, where there's a 10 to 15% of doctors leave after 2 years or more after graduation. And that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It's not very good for workforce planning for the country. Like, for example, if in the UK, 10 to 15% of doctors leave after 2 years, then their workforce planning for the healthcare system may not work so well. But for that individual, a lot of times they actually flourish in all sorts of other careers, which I can show you later. So, like I said, about 80%, 85%, or up to 90% chose a career in medicine. So the reason why there's a high retention, because I don't have the numbers for all the other courses, As far as I remember, all the people, my friends who went to uni with, majority of them who did law, I think left with only about 10% of them still practicing law. Majority of them are actually not in law. So in medicine, we still have a fairly high figures of 85 to 90% who remain in the job in medicine. The part of the reason I suspect is there are a lot of variety and different sort of specialties for people. So there's at least listed at least 65 different kind of specialisms that you can choose, and it's quite interesting to realize that the our body is only so big, but there's 65 different areas that you can branch into just on the human body, which is quite fascinating. So there's lots and lots of dimensions to consider. So the 10 to 15% of the people who chose a career path outside medicine, a lot of them still somewhat relate to medicine. And so they could be doing things like journalism, medical journalism. They work for medical journals. They could be working for industries like pharmaceutical company that makes medication, drugs, and all these areas. They want doctors because we bring in this different kind of skill set and different kind of knowledge to help them to develop. So a lot of people go into armed forces, army doctor, or people can go into medical indemnity insurance because it's getting bigger and bigger industry. And lately, some people like me who kind of still keep some time practicing as a doctor, but at the same time spending most of the time parting our knowledge, our experience with students and younger people. So when I get old, for example, when I fell off today, I was very, very grateful that there's a young doctor that came to see me and organized the X-ray for me. So it is actually quite a good degree to take elsewhere. And sometimes it could be something very, very unrelated. It seems unrelated, but it can be very, very useful. So this is just a bit of a funny slide. Instead of me talking for 40 minutes. So it's just a quick illustration to show that there's something for everybody. So whether you are, oops, am I still sharing or my screen has gone funny? I assume that I'm still sharing. Okay, so there's something for everybody. So for a medical student, whether you are not crazy, whether you're crazy, whether you're hardworking, a lot of people believe that doctors are all very hardworking. I think to some extent that's true, but it's not always true. As you can see on the right side of the graph, you're not too hardworking. There are some jobs there for you as well. But do not share this slide. This is just a funny slide that some of the ophthalmologists or the dermatologists or radiologists that might get really, really upset about me saying they are not that hardworking. But this is just jokes like just to try to show you that there's a lot of different areas that you can go into. Depending on what kind of personality, what kind of things that you like, there are things for you to choose from. But not just at that time, because at that moment in time you may like certain things, but things change as you get older. So I remember when I was younger, this was very popular, and then when I find that when I went to the uni and for the younger people, they find this sort of things a lot more popular. I have absolutely no idea who this person is. No, I'm joking. I actually know who he is. I have young children too. And then as you get older, certain part of the population, they like this sort of things, and then the older people, they probably remember this very, very well. But saying that there's a comeback, so all the young people seem to have gone into details now. So why do I put up these slides? Because, yes, it's a bit funny to see that things change. As we get older, we change, and sometimes it's something that we like to do, that change as we get older, and sometimes it's our body stop letting us do it. Like, for example, when you get to about 65, I'm not being ages, 65, 70 years old, and it's actually quite taxing on your body to do a triathlon. And it's actually very taxing on your body to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and stay out through the day. So our body clock change, our body change, and our physiology change, and our mindset, our preference, our family, all sorts of things come in. So things change with time. So exactly the same as in medicine. Okay. So for you, those of you who tune into this, I assume that you have done biology or some form of science program. So this is probably one of the most exciting jobs that I've ever done in my life. Okay. And I've been through some exciting things in life, but this is probably one of the most exciting jobs that I've done. So most of you know what is an abdominal aorta. Aorta is the big pipe that connects our heart and supply the blood to all over our body. And unfortunately, when we get older, like most things elastic, the elasticity can lose some elasticity, so the thing can expand and it swell up. And as you can imagine, the big pipe that is linking the heart to our leg, the big long pipe, will carry most of the blood of our body that's going to the leg. If it swell up to a certain point, when you swell up, like most elasticity stuff, when the whole thing starts getting stretched, it gets thinner. When it gets to a certain thinness, it bursts. Okay? And there's nothing more emergency than that. Falling off a bicycle seems serious at the time when I was on the floor on the road earlier, but it's nothing compared to this. Okay, majority of people with a ruptured abdominal aneurysm die on the spot, and 50% of them will make it into the hospital, and after that, another 50% will probably die before we actually take them to the operating theater. Then after that, half of them will still die before we actually manage to find where the problem is and stitch it up for them. So it's a very, very serious problem, very, very urgent. But I seem to remember at the time I was 26 years old, and it seems to happen all in the middle of the night. At 3 a.m., I seem to remember. I'm sure it happens at other times, but we seem to get it a lot at 3 a.m. And when I was 20-something years old, this is the most exciting thing ever. You rush into the operating theater, you cut the abdomen open, and you will see blood everywhere. Sometimes you don't see blood everywhere because there's another piece of tissue that's holding on to the blood. So you cut the pressure, then the blood will pump everywhere. Sometimes people, their heart actually stop at the moment because you release the blood and then they crash with their blood pressure and the heart stops. And just like watching in the TV is really, really exciting. The most exciting things that you can do in life. And the number of times we actually managed to, person's heart stop, we suck out all the blood, find where the hole is, stitch it up, pump the blood back in, and restart the heart. And the next day you can talk to the person, despite the person having had died the day before. So it's actually a really, really exciting type of surgery. And you can spare no time. You can't waste any time when it comes to this emergency. The problem is when you get to about 30-something years old, you start questioning, why does it have to happen so late? I'm really tired. And especially when you've done a 24-hour on call, and it could be a 56 hours on call, you didn't have enough sleep. And why is it happening at this time when I'm just about to get some sleep after I finish all my job at about 1 or 2 o'clock, and then this sort of things happen? And when you're 40 years old, I can tell you, at 3 o'clock in the morning, the best friend is your pillow. And you start questioning, is there anyone else could do? I'm not saying that this applies to everybody. It kind of works to some extent with me, and I find it harder and harder to cope. And I have utmost respect for all those people who continue doing this sort of thing, this kind of job, with their stamina and with great tenacity that they keep doing this sort of job, saving lives and things like that. And also in medicine, at 3 o'clock in the morning, when you're 20 something years old, the likelihood is you don't have children, you don't have children to take to school, and you don't have all sort of all the paraphernalias that comes with getting old, and the school parent teacher meeting and driving children to school and things like that. So when you're 20 years something, it doesn't matter, happen whatever time, it's just the most exciting thing ever. When 30 something, 40 something, when children start coming along, and just in case your wife, so happened my wife is also was a surgeon at the time, and it just start to interfere with a lot of family life. So your life change, medicine change, and your body change, all sort of things change as you go along. So you need to start thinking about all these sort of things before you actually jump into it and start regretting it later. Okay, I hope I haven't put you off completely in doing medicine, or hopefully, some people might get very, very excited when we start talking about blood and everything. But not every field in medicine will be very, very exciting with lots and lots of blood. And there's a lot of things could be a lot calmer, but the satisfaction is incredible. I still remember some times ago when I was in the UK, I was helping out in the hospice where the people with end-stage disease, cancer, they're going into a very calm environment. All we are doing, we're not trying to save their life because it's coming near the end. So we need to make sure that everything is comfortable, make sure that they don't have too much secretion, make sure that they are breathing fine, make sure they're not in pain. And we use all sort of a cocktail of medication just to make things nice for the person who are dying, and as well as the family who are watching them. So nothing is real emergency in those areas, but the satisfaction, the achievement that you get, even though we didn't eventually save the life, because we can't go against life forces when people with end-stage cancer and things like that, once they've gone beyond the ability that we can treat. But still, you get an immense satisfaction if you do it well. The amount of gratitude and things that you get from families is immensely pleasurable. Well, not pleasurable, but it's very, very rewarding if things are done well. So, if you're still interested, this is where the most people find it scary. So as you can see on the graph, the undergraduate training is the small part, okay? It's 5 years. And in the UK system, you then move on to a foundation year 1 and 2 training. And after that, you just get a full registration with the medical council. Every country, you must register with the medical council before you can work as a doctor. And you do that. And once you've done that, finish your 2 years of training, you will go into your specialist training. And some of the specialist training, as you can see here, specialist training 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the other one is the core training, 1, 2, 3, and then specialist training 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So what happens is there are slightly two different things here. When it comes to specialist training, some had already decided they've gone into specifically into that kind of specialism, so they go straight for a specialist training. But like a lot of things, like for example in surgery, you go into core training, you learn all the basic surgical skills and all the basic things that you need to be able to do. Then you go into specialist one, like for example when I mentioned earlier about the vascular surgery, and some people go into neurosurgery, brain surgery or heart surgery, things like that. You move on to the specialist training after the 3 years. So you can count 5 years in medical school, 2 more years a foundation year, so that makes it 7 years. Yeah, and then after that, 3 more years in core training, which is 10 years, and the likelihood is, no, actually, and then after that, another maybe 4 or 5 years of specialist training. So you're talking about 14 or 15 years. So a lot of people find that 14, 15 years is a very, very long time. And the bad news is, the likelihood is after the foundation 2, you may not get in the core training because it's highly competitive. If you think that medical school is hard to get in, nowadays may not be as tricky because there are more medical school about. So you're talking about, for example, in Newcastle, we probably have about 500 applicants on average. We only have about 150 something spaces. And in the UK, it's even worse. And most people think that the hardest bit is getting into medical school. Actually, the hardest bit is once you finish your foundation year 2 to try to get into a core training. And I can tell you, when I was in my fun days, when I was 26-year-old doing surgery, I remember when I got the job, it's like winning a lottery, because when I got the surgical training job, there were 4 jobs and there were 600 people apply for the 4 jobs. So it's actually really, really, really tough to actually get in. Nowadays, it's a little bit easier because the organization is better in UK. And in Malaysia, things are improving as well. But still, it's not an easy thing. And also moving from core training into a specialist training, there's another hurdle. So a lot of people have opted to do 2 or 3 years of masters in research, in various things to improve their CV so that they can muscle themselves into the next one. Because otherwise, everybody who applies for those jobs will have their medical degree. Everybody will have a reference that say, this person is good. Everybody, all the 600 people who applied for the 4 jobs when I went for the job, everybody had exactly the same thing in their CV. So you need to get something in so that you can stand out a little bit more. So now more and more people are taking a 6 years undergraduate training. So they incorporate 1 year of some bachelor's degree in either research or medical education or something, and it helps them with some publications so that they can stand out a little bit more from the crowd. Okay, because it is a very, very crowded place. So this in Malaysia, most people find that, after that you can come out to become a GP and things. In the UK, after the foundation year 2, you still need minimum of 3 years of training before you get qualification for GP. And in Malaysia, they are slowly moving the way. They're not going to let people start. I think in the next few years, things might change. They're not going to let people just finish a foundation year, come out and open a clinic, because they find that a general practice is actually one of the harder area to cover, because you actually have to know a fair bit of everything. So I remember after leaving surgery, went into general practice training in the UK. There's so much that I needed to cover, and I was older then, and I had a lot more experience, and I still found it a little bit tricky. And so even for general practice, there's still at least 5 years after graduation before one can start working as a GP. But it's not all bad news. Okay, I'm just going to hurry up a little bit. So it's not all bad news. It's very, very similar to, unless some of your parents are already owning the company, not many people will finish their business studies or management studies and they come out and become the CEO of the company. Not many people will have that kind of opportunity. Most people will have to work through their ranks from the office boy to whatever, to the management level. Then they slowly work up to be the head of a company. And at least in medicine, when you graduate from the undergraduate training, you go through all this training and things. At one point, you're going to become a specialist or become a consultant, as long as you stick it out. And the majority of people get that. It's very competitive, but at some point, majority of people that I know of will get there. And also, when you're working as a Foundation 1, Foundation 2, specialist training, core training, and all this sort of thing, you're not sitting in the classroom like in university. You are actually earning some income. Is enough for you to live quite comfortably, but you just have more exams to do. And so when you finish all these exams, you become a consultant. Doesn't mean that you stop having exams. You still have to have a yearly appraisal, to have your continuous professional development. Make sure that you keep up to date with the latest information about medicine. Instead of it doesn't mean that when you become a specialist or a consultant, you can stop learning anything or stop doing anything. It's a continuous thing. That's why right from the start, I said in medicine, it's something that you sign up for life, well, at least until for your whole working life anyway. And I strongly believe that it will be after working life as well. I've seen many of my friends who retired, who have retired. People continue asking them things, and they kind of still keep in touch because you've been doing it for the last 40 years. It's highly unlikely. It's a difficult habit to break anyway. So, career in medicine, there's at least 65 different specialties, plenty to choose from to suit everybody's needs. Okay, and criteria to get into medical school is A level. You need to get 2A, a B for minimum for our university anyway. Every university will have a slightly different sort of criteria. So you make sure you check with the university that you are going for. For a Malaysian Medical Council, you need to have biology, chemistry, physics, or maths. And this is a requirement. So without A levels or STPM, biology, chemistry, you can't register with the council. And also for a Malaysian council, you will need to have SPM Bahasa to be able to register with the council. So make sure that you get all that clarified before you sign up. And Foundation 3.75, IELTS of 7.0. So IELTS is for our university because our whole course is run on with English, and a lot of materials are actually developed in the UK. And so if the ability to master the English language is somewhat, if it's below 7, you will struggle. So the reason why for the criteria is not to stop people coming in. The reason why the criteria is there is to make sure that we do not waste your time or our time, because there's the last thing that any responsible university wants to do is take people in who cannot really pass, and so it will be quite irresponsible, and that's why the high entry criteria. So I'm just going into a little bit about interview in the last few minutes. When it comes to application, the Malaysian university is probably not a university or branch campus or campuses in Malaysia. It's probably a little bit easier to get in. You just need to perform reasonably well in the interview. If you're thinking of going overseas, especially if you think places like I know full well about UK. Each university is designed to make enough local people to become doctors in UK, and so they only have about 20 or less spaces for international students. And for the international students, it's not just from Malaysia. You're fighting with people from India, from the Middle East, from all over the world. So for all these 20 spaces, it's hugely competitive. Okay, so unless you do extremely well in your interview, you're not going to look any different to anyone else. So it'll be impossible to get in. And so it's always well to prepare the interview well. So the first thing about the interview is you need to know about the university they want to apply to. You don't just send a CV to everybody, to every university. And when I ask you, why do you want to come here and what do you know about the system, our university, our course, you go, oh, yeah, I like the name of the university. And that's not good enough. So you need to learn about the course because every university has a slightly different way of delivering the medical training. Some are better suited for certain personality or your study skills, because some people are much better at reading and learning and memorizing and things like that. Some people are much better at using the spiral thing. They have to think outside the box. They have to create, some are case-based learning. You follow the patient through. Some are problem-based learning. Make sure you learn about all these terms. Make sure you learn about that and only apply to those universities that actually suit your learning style, because otherwise you end up going to struggle through the 5 years. You're going to get the same end result anyway, but why do you want to struggle through the 5 years? Because it doesn't suit your kind of personality with the kind of courses that run. And make sure you know a little bit about being a doctor, not just, oh, my friend is a doctor, or I went to a doctor's clinic and sat there for 2 weeks, so I know what is all. So make sure that you have a broader understanding. Talk to enough people what actually the job entails and what other professional behavior, the mannerism and things. I I I I I I probably shouldn't bring up something political, but in COVID time, there was this a doctor in Penang who got into a bit of bother and things like that. Those sort of things can actually land you in trouble. The medical council, even if you're not wearing your lab coat and tie and not working in your clinic, even if you're outside, you misbehave, the medical council can strike you off. And if they strike you off, you can't work in the country as a doctor. So make sure that you understand of being a doctor as a holistic approach rather than the person sitting in the clinic or in the hospital. Make sure you have some understanding of the healthcare system in, well, I say Malaysia here, in any country that you're applying to. So don't just say that your healthcare system. I only been to a Gleneagles private hospital, and that is again not. It does not show a true understanding of the healthcare system. And some of the interviewees have absolutely no idea what is a clinical setting because they were so privileged that they never have to use it at all. And so make sure that you know a little bit about that. There may be some interview question about ethical reasoning, that may give you a tricky scenario and to see what kind of person it is, how ethical the person is. But these questions tend to be a little bit more rare, but they do pop up from time and time again. And what we want to see is a very well-rounded person, someone who can learn from their experience, learn from their mistake, and not high ego. Because unfortunately, medical profession has always attracted a lot of people with a really huge ego because they've always been the first in their class. And I can tell you now, very few people become the first in medical school. A lot of times, they may not even ranking. So don't let that deter you. And we want someone who is more flexible, who are able to reflect on their experience, and a well-rounded person. And what I mean by a well-rounded person is there's a candidate who applied for job who applied for the place last year, and I insisted on not giving that candidate a place. Uh, it is a straight A student, and I was shocked when I looked at the hobby section, and that's why I questioned the hobbies. The hobby is mentioned. I love reading, and that was the only hobby. And when I start questioning, if reading is a good hobby, wonderful, depending on what you read. So when I start questioning about the hobby, I said, well, so what kind of books what kind of genre, what kind of books do you like to read? Since that was your own kind of only hobby, which I didn't particularly wasn't impressed because I like to see a little bit more well-rounded. And the person's answer was, majority, I love reading my textbooks so I can do well in exam. And the whole interview room immediately had put a big cross on there and not offer the person place. Make sure you're a well-rounded person. Make sure that you go find something you like to do. Yes, I know falling off a bicycle is a very painful experience. I'm sitting here with a broken bone talking to you, but you need to live a fuller life. And we want people like that who practice in medicine so that they have a better view of human life rather than someone who is very textbook smart. Okay, I believe that would be all the time that I have. Sorry that I have the tendency to talk a little bit too much.
All right. Hi,
So
Dr.
welcome with any questions.
Yes, okay. Before that, thank you so much for such an insightful conversation. It was also very entertaining. I enjoyed the part with the illustration about which area path you want to enter. I thought it was like a simplified way of for somebody who's not in the medical scene to understand what it all entails. Are you afraid of the dark? Are you not afraid of the dark? It's actually pretty entertaining. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and then okay, so we've reached nearing the end of the session. Let's check at some questions Doctor, can you see the questions at the live comment section on the site?
Oh,
You,
yes.
yeah, you might have to scroll down a little bit until you reach the section for medicine. I'm just gonna pull up some questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, there are different types of questions. Let me see
Yeah,
them
it's all from our previous speakers. You just have to scroll down a little bit to the bottom.
near the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, can you see it, Doctor?
I'm just scrolling through them. Okay. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
I
the
can.
first yeah, so the first one will be from Chu Jaren. Would you like to check
Right.
that one?
Good,
It's about
Darren. Yeah.
yeah, all right. So it's about work-life balance.
Yes. That is a really good question. I'm so happy that you asked this now at your age because this is something that I wasn't thinking of. So, work-life balance, it can be achieved. I have many, many friends who are both husband and wife, are both surgeons, and they really have to micromanage all their time with their children and things like that. And generally, work-life balance can be achieved very, very well as a doctor. Um, at the training time in Malaysia can be a little bit tricky for a few years when you're a junior doctor. When you get a little bit more senior, you can control things a lot better. In the UK, on the other hand, there is a very, very strict work hours that they have to adhere to. And it's illegal for the hospital to make you to work more hours. So now the work-life balance can be quite good. So my sister is a liver surgeon in the UK, and 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 they have a little daughter, and husband also works in a hospital, and they manage to achieve a very, very good work-life balance by choosing things that they want to do, and still able to spend time with the family. And I have to say that you probably have to work slightly longer hours. You may have to limit the time that you spend with your family due to on call and all that sort of thing, but you can make it up with the quality. So I don't
Mm,
think, from my experience, it has been bad.
all right. Okay, so I hope you have understood the work-life balance of being a doctor in Malaysia, especially. Let's move on to our next question by Tiba. Can you see it, Doctor?
For Tiba, yes, I do. Oh, thank you very much.
A good bedside manner.
Yes, this is something that is very, very important. There's some
Mm-hmm.
people who are naturally more gifted at at better at dealing with people. Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but we have a lot of evidence to suggest that a lot of all these bedside manners, communication skills can be taught and can be learned. Okay, for the extreme cases, yes, there are some. There may be some cases that we at the interview we find that I think this is going to be really, really tough. So we have an honest
Mm-hmm.
discussion with the candidate saying that may not be suitable for you.
Mm-hmm.
But for majority of people, I would say 99.999% of people can actually learn that skill. It's actually not that hard. So in Newcastle, we actually put a lot of emphasis from year one all the way through year five with
Mm-hmm.
proper communication skills training. So I used to lead on the communication skills training for all the 5 stages. We've written a lot of material to help
Mm-hmm.
people to be a better communicator. And most people, once they are able to do it, they tend to excel and do well in it.
Mm,
Yeah,
I see. All right. Okay. So
yeah.
I hope Tiba understands. She got that. Okay. So there's another question from one of our students. We garnered some questions yesterday. So our team have pulled this question out from Cheong Zia Ru. How many holidays do doctors have? What's the best university of medicine in Malaysia?
Well, how many holidays? It really depends because if you run your own clinic,
Mm,
you can have as much
yeah.
holiday as you want, and depend on how much money you want to earn. And so in the UK, I can tell you from UK because majority of them are actually part of the National Health Service, and
Mm,
you can there there are many of my friends are actually choosing to work part-time, which means they work 2.5 days a week. So
Oh,
can you imagine how much holiday? And they're still having a very good work-life. They kind of relate to the first question about work-life balance. All these
yeah.
friends, instead of 100,000, they decide that they will earn 50,000, which they find that it's probably enough for them to live anyway, and and still with a reasonably good lifestyle, and they can spend as much time with their family. They work 2.5 days. So there are at least, when I was in the UK, there were at least 4 doctors, 2 male, 2 female. They were all working 2.5 days a week. And
Wow.
and to be fair, you can choose a lot of variety as well, because I was doing 3 days in the clinic, and I spent 2 other days to do the money bit, the commissioning group that looks after the healthcare spending in the local area.
Yeah.
So it depends. On average, I think most people will get at least 20 something days if they are employed by someone.
Right.
And
Okay.
what is the best university of medicine in Malaysia is a tricky one for me to answer. It really depends on what you want. Like, for example, the local university, if you can get in, like University of Malaya and things, that'll be wonderful news. And if you find that it's difficult to get in those, you have to go to the private sort of university. You need to pick whichever course that suits you. And also, there are some benefits on some university, like for example in Newcastle University, Malaysia. If a lot of people chose it so that they can get a springboard to push them into the job market in the UK. So far
Yeah.
we've been very successful at getting a lot of people to work in the UK. Some people would want to live in Australia. They might choose one that spring them into Australia. So it really depends on what you want. I think everyone is very good.
All right. Okay. Doctor, let us answer a couple more questions.
Yeah.
Is there any questions from the live comment that you would like to pick?
Let me scroll through it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's an interesting question from Royce Tang Kwang, and
Okay.
it's the last one at the bottom.
Yeah.
I heard from the news that after the foundation training, in some cases, government of Malaysia do not offer jobs or contracts to those medical officers. In this case, does that mean the MO will become jobless? Good question. They will not become jobless. All of them will have a annual practicing certificate. And if you look in the Malaysian primary care site, because what happens in Malaysia at the moment, anyone can, once you've completed your training job, when you become an MO, you are qualified to become a GP. So a lot of those people are working locally in clinics or on things, and they actually have a reasonable financial reward to do most of that. Most of them live fairly well.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Any advice?
Yeah. Some other questions we can check.
Yes, there's one from Chiu J Ren.
Before entering?
Before entering into core training, is
Okay.
there a set number of years? There's not really a set number of years. In Malaysia, you will it's a competitive entry, so it's highly unlikely that you're going to get in straight away. And if you're lucky
Right.
enough, you may do, but most people will end up having to take the extra exam, like the membership in Royal College of Surgeons or membership in Royal College of Physicians, before you are able to secure a place.
All right. Okay. All right. So I hope you have managed to garner that answer. And before they want to, I feel like Chu might have been interested in pursuing medicine from the questions that he's asked. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
All
that's
right.
right.
Yeah. All right. So Dr. Ong, thank you so much for being with us today. Despite your situation, you've been such a good sport to us. And we hope that our audience have gained some valuable information about medical, how to pursue medical degree, and how to become a doctor in Malaysia as well from this session. So, Dr. Ong, we hope to see you again soon for our next webinar series. Yeah.
Okay, sure, no problem. I'll be sitting on my couch for the next 6 weeks. I'm told I cannot move.
Oh
Now,
no, okay,
yeah, my apologies that I didn't manage to answer some of those questions, but do
no
send it
worries.
to our marketing team. Who will help you to address it anyway.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Ong. Have a good day and take care.
Thank you.
All right, so there you have it. That's Dr. Ong from Newcastle University, Malaysia. So if you guys have any more questions, please do visit NewMat's booth at our virtual education fair. Up next, we have Mr. Jason Toh from Raffles College, Kuala Lumpur. I think Mr. Jason is already in the stream. Let's just pull him up real quick. Hi, Mr.
Hi,
Jason.
Nina. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you just fine, very clear. How are
Excellent.
you?
Good. I'm good. I'm all excited to share with audiences
Yeah.
about interior designing and about Raffles College. Oh, yeah.
All right. Okay, so let me just address the audience. Okay, for those of you who just tuned into our webinar series, welcome, part of our EduAdvisor Virtual Education Fair, where academicians and industry professionals will weigh in on a number of topics, ranging from choosing an education pathway to jobs and careers. My name is Nina. I'm your host today, and we have Mr. Jason Toh, the Program Director of Interior Design Department of Raffles College, Kuala Lumpur, who will be sharing with us about studying interior design. So, just a little bit background about our esteemed speaker today. Mr. Jason Toh is an architect by profession with experience in the practice of interior design for more than 20 years. Upon receiving his A levels, Mr. Jason furthered his studies and obtained a Bachelor's of the Arts in Architectural Studies at the National University of Singapore. Now, Mr. Jason Toh is the Program Director of the Interior Design Department at Raffles College, KL. While his primary function is education management, Mr. Jason considers himself as an avid traveler and a food addict. I think we all can relate to that last one, Mr. Jason. I'm a food addict myself as well.
Yes. Welcome to my foodie club then.
Yeah. All right. So thank you, Ms. Jason, for joining us today. So before we begin, to our audience, if you have any questions about interior design or even architecture or even Raffles College, please don't hesitate to comment below in our comment section, even on YouTube or Facebook. So, Mr. Jason, have you got your slides prepared?
Yes, I have.
All right. I don't see it in the yeah. Do you mind sharing your screen
Yep.
or your
Let me
slide?
just go share this screen with you.
All
Sorry, I've
right.
got it on. It's on. Hang on a sec.
No worries. Take your time.
Okay, there seems to be some technical glitch here. Hold on a second.
No worries.
Application window doesn't see my screen.
Hmm.
That is weird.
Or is your presentation on a tab or on another app?
Nope, I am using what we have rehearsed, and I've pulled out my presentation PowerPoint slides.
Okay.
Can't seem to find it. Hold on a sec. Okay, share screen,
Mm-hmm.
application window. Okay, there's a bummer here. I have no idea why I can't call out my PowerPoint screen.
Oh no. Was this did you encountered the same problem before this?
Nope, it was all good. We did it last night, and yeah. Do you want me to re-enter the studio again, or let me?
Uh, sure. Go ahead, Mr. Jason.
Yeah,
Okay.
let me try to leave the studio. Sorry, guys. Let me try to leave the studio and come in again, because I don't know why my PowerPoint is not on the screen. Hold on, yeah.
All right. So Mr. Jason is going through some technical difficulties, but that's okay. If you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to just leave below at the comment section. We'll get to it at the end of the session. And please do check out Raffles College at our EduAdvisor virtual fair. I'll be doing a live tour of how to navigate through raffles and how do you go through the quizzes and things like that. In the meantime, let's just wait for Mr. Jason to come back. All right. Okay, I think I'm just gonna give you guys a quick tour of our EduAdvisor fair. For those of you who just tuned in, our EduAdvisor fair will be held until this Friday, and we will also have another webinar series tomorrow at the same time, same place on Facebook and YouTube, as well as our fair. Do check it out. Oh, okay. I think Mr. Jason's already in. Let me just pull him up real quick.
I think I might have spot problem because I was using a shortcut.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah, so I think I'm good now. Let me just share with you my screen and yeah, found it.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, it's here. All right, so
Yeah.
Mr. Jason, without further ado, I'm gonna let the audience have it from you. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Nina. And hi, welcome everybody to tune in to this segment of the webinar organized by EduAdvisor. We'd like to thank them for this opportunity. And for the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to be sharing with you what is interior design and about Raffles in KL, which is situated in the heart of city center. Now, before I show you the slides, many people might be offering wondering, what is interior design? Interior design is fundamentally about space planning, and there is a process that goes through it. Without this process, it's just merely interior decorating. So the presentation slides that we're going to be sharing today is broken up into 3 subtopics. So to just kind of give you a feel as to, firstly, the first segment would be what is really interior design and the career path. What can you possibly do if you have a diploma or you earn a degree in interior designing or interior architecture? And then we'll move on to the second segment, where if you sign up for this course, we'd like to share with you what kind of set skills that you will acquire, what sort of things that you pick up. And then thirdly, it would be about how we do it in KL, in Raffles KL. Now, the process that we're going to go through will be all within the context of Raffles interior design program and syllabus, and also the study experience. We're going to show you how we as the interior design team take you through your study experience in Kuala Lumpur. Before I show you, and before I share you the slides, I also like to kind of inform all budding interior designers that there's actually a World Interior Day, May 23rd, that just passed about 2 weeks ago. And on that day, the president of International Federation of Interior Design has encouraged the community to design and experience, to connect people, to play subject in a fresh way, and to keep pushing the creative boundary. So with that, I'd like to kind of go through now what is interior design, since we have and acknowledge the month of May and May 23rd being an interior day. Now, what is interior design? Fundamentally, like I mentioned, it is about spaces. We make changes to the spaces, most time internally. At times, there will be exterior spaces. You have landed property like a patio, a swimming pool, a gazebo, or a garden. But even if you have a restaurant where you have outdoor dining spaces, where you have to deal with alfresco dining, so we meet the functional requirement, and obviously the end result is visually inclined. So what I'm trying to say here is that interior design output cannot just be nice to look at. It's got to be functional. So ultimately, when we enhance this space, we improve the quality of life. In short, we interior designers, we design the quality of life. It's actually a very, very powerful statement because our lives evolve around these 3 worlds. All of us have. We have a home to go back to. Most of us will have a workplace. We earn a salary and we go out to the playground. The playground could be on shopping, retail therapy. It could be on cafes, restaurants, and when we travel abroad, we go into spas and hotels. Who doesn't like to enjoy living in a style, a house like this, or a home or apartment? When I have a workplace that is conducive and efficient, I would look forward to coming to work. Or when I get my salary, my bonus, or I get a pay rise, I'll celebrate with friends in a cafe. I'll go shopping for my retail therapy. I could travel with friends or family to hotels and stay and say, I only wish my room can be like this. So all these are being reinforced by statistics showing that these three walls is just keep on growing. As you can see around, there's just more and more shopping malls, more and more office buildings, and more convenient blocks coming out. And who is going to fill in those spaces? Us. I once remembered when I took my students for field trip, and one of our industry affiliates said this very aptly. The architect built all these mega buildings and structures, and we interior designers fill in the soul. That's what we do, because all of us here, we have our needs, our wants, our preferences, our choices, our standards. And when you bring in an interior designer, they provide us with creative solutions to meet these living demands. And during this MCO, I'm sure most of you are locked down at home might turn on to Astro and notice that there are a lot of lifestyle programs to reinforce the beauty pleasure in life. HGTV, competitions on renovation, and even TV shows that actually just kind of show you what interior designing can do. That is why, personally, I think interior designing is going to be a fast and dynamic growing industry. The next question that begs upon most parents, and including you guys who are interested in having a career, what can I do with a diploma or degree? Obviously, in most schools, we will train you to become an interior designer. This is where we will tell you and remind you, put your best foot forward. Let's see whether you're a better private residential designer, or maybe you're a better commercial designer. Commercial designer ranges from cafes, restaurant, hospitality, boutique, exhibitions, and all that. Or if during your 2 years diploma course, you realize that your skill is actually in churning out those 3D interior visuals, those jaw-dropping photoreal visuals that you can create, you can become what we call a CAD visualizer. You stay in the office and you churn out all these visuals that the clients are now demanding to look for. Okay, or if you are a people person, you like to take a stack of plans and you go to the site and you want to make all these things happen. You supervise, you do the fit out, you do contracting. You want to make sure that everything is in place. Yes, you can be in part of what we call the facility managing side. And throughout your course, mostly in degree as well, but in diploma, we'll get you to explore mock-ups and three-dimensional shapes and form. And if you're forte into that, you can have a career as a model making in most times architecture firm, but sometimes there are interior designing firms that will hire what we call mock-up artists or model makers. What else can be related to your diploma or degree in interior designing that you can branch off into lifestyle or entertainment sector, such as exhibition, set designers, event planners? And like what Nina said, in my course of 20 over years of doing interior design, I have done exhibition, set design, and event planning. If any one of you here likes this adrenaline rush because it's up one day and down the next day, yeah, this might be the avenue for you to express your skill in design planning, to talk about concepts and scales and proportion. I would also expect that if you branch off into sales, and if you say, for example, you're a real estate agent, any real estate agent with an interior design background should be a much better salesperson because you can read a plan, and when you take a client through and you're trying to convince them that this unit is good, you can explain to them. You can open up this kind of lot, look at the view and all that. So, or you can get into product and sales designer, where products and sales designer are like you do the lighting, you do furniture, which is also covered in our Raffles program costs. With more experience, well, if you ask me, I would say 5 years. Okay, you can then branch off to be a freelance designer. You can offer design consultancy. And of course, more interestingly, you can venture into your own business, dabbling into ID-related businesses like into home furnishing, interior materials. So that was a very quick introduction of what is interior designing, fundamentally about spaces, and what can you do. And you can see your careers are plenty. So don't be mistaken that with a qualification in interior designers, I have to become just an interior designer. As seen in the slides, there are a lot more that you can branch into. So if that has got strike a right chord to you, next set of slides would be sharing to you about what skills will you get when you sign up on the interior course. Now, let me remind you that what I'm going through will be within the context of what Raffles syllabus is. As you probably know now, that there are a lot of universities, colleges, and institutions that offer courses. So different universities would have slightly different syllabus. Within the context of Raffles syllabus, we instill the arts and science of interior design. Because what do you mean by the arts and science of interior design? Fundamentally, interior designing is an arts course. It's a skill-based thing, but there are some science to it, and the science subjects are tangible, things that you can quantify. And the art subjects are skill-based, how you feel, how you draw, and how you apply color, for example. I'm going to just show you some of the students' work in the arts of interior design, where we will train you to draw freehand, to render, to use computer to apply colors. And these are all our student work. And we will also then encourage or train you to create concept boards, presentation boards, churn out CAD drawings. CAD is for computer aided drawings plan, as a form of communication. And of course, ultimately you get to design studio works, be it whether it's residential, commercial, or hospitality. In our program, we have an introduction to furniture and light design. We call it the fourth dimension. And by the time you finish our program, you have what we call a full spectrum of what ID should be. Now, the science of interior design would cover detailed drawings of construction details, interior components. You need to quantify your costings, create BQ, write final claims, and even doing scale mockups, you need to be able to measure and read plans. So things that are quantifiable, that is tangible, is what we call the science of interior design. And if that 2 years in interior design diploma level is not enough, and you're wondering whether you should be pursuing a degree, just let me share with you a very quick overview of should you be pursuing a degree. When you do a degree, your maturity level, your assignments, your coursework gets more complex. So with that, you will be opening more doors for yourself, and you create a wider perspective for when you leave school with a degree. We have just collaborated with Coventry University in London, and they offer bachelor honors in interior architecture and design. I have got limited time here, but if after this seminar, if you're interested, I'll be more than happy to meet you back in college to explain to you the differences between interior design, interior architecture, and architecture itself. But for today itself, let me just share you a very quick video on our partner, Coventry University. Right, so that short little video will just give you a brief introduction to our new partner, Coventry University. This slide will just tell you that what happens when you move into a degree level. As explained in the slide, your learning experience will be heightened with more complex design solutions shown to you, and your outcome will reflect higher standards in professionalism and maturity in your work. And we have an intake of every Jan and July, and I just want to show you some samples of our current student work and how complex it becomes when you move into degree level. And at degree level, this is just a snapshot of how strong our industry network is, because the more collaborative work we have for degree students and also at diploma when necessary, the stronger the outcome of our program will be. Now, the integral part of introducing you to Raffles. And earlier I mentioned that there are a lot of schools that offers different programs. In Raffles KL, you might wonder, so is it any different? Is it better? and how is it different? I'm not going to say that we are the best in interior design, but I can definitely share with you your study experience with us. Because when you sign up to our course in Raffles KL, we have a mission. When the school got me back to become the head of department, I asked myself, all the colleges are producing so many interior designers. And the fundamental question is, what makes Raffles students different? Very simply, we will always try to get the student as ready and as relevant as possible. So it is all about a department that needs to be well connected to the industry, because we are big on injecting all the out of classroom experiences so that when you graduate, we hope to give you the extra edge. Our out of classroom experiences would of course include industry field trips that we collaborate with our partners, seminars and exhibitions, or international studies tours to expand the horizon, and especially for degree students. A very quick glance of the past activities that we've conducted. This one would show that even in your diploma level, just about in your end of your year one, when you start to design studio, we take you to Bina Warehouse, a pioneer in kitchenware and sanitary ware. The manager there itself would gladly welcome us, and then she will personally take you through how demanding it is like to do a kitchen, what are the things you need to look out for when you spec a sanitary ware, and we visit both the KL and their PJ showroom. This field study in a construction site is something that we are also uh, adamantly doing, because these slides will definitely show you that our students are the real thing. They are ready and relevant because we take them to the site. Most of us lecturers, we don't just believe in showing slides in a confident and aircon classroom, but taking the students out to the construction site. This is the real deal. The lecturers are showing our students what are the components, how are the raw bricks and the raw walls, where are the wires going, how are the floors all being done, the screeding and the reinforcements before our students see the finished work. Even the introduction to furniture and lighting. We bring students to guided tour to Fisker and Kien. And Fisker, I will call them a boutique furniture gallery showroom. They have no retail shop. They are all the way in Selayang. We bring our students there to the back of the factory. And over there are designers who take our students through, show them the drawings before a furniture prototype is being made. With that, we hope that the students grasp, I see, this is a process of how furniture is being taken care of. And the slides below, we visit Kian showroom, and the sales manager and the designer himself will personally greet us and share with us the demands of furniture, the trends, the type, because they have a big warehouse in Guangzhou, which is on our list to visit in the near future. In diploma level, their graduation project is usually a hospitality design. And when we chose to do a boutique hotel with students, we take pain to bring the students out of KL, as far as Penang and Malacca, stay a night or two, get the owner of the Airbnb or the operation manager to show our students all the spaces and places that a normal hotel guest will not be able to see. For example, where the linens are, how does the fire hose work, and what happens when there is emergency, the circulation path and all that. Because we strongly believe that if we want our students to design a boutique hotel that works, that's relevant, they need to understand the behind the scene. So with this kind of study tour, we hope to give the student the edge, like I mentioned earlier. Even in the final portfolio, we have just a simple mock interview. We take pain in organizing a mock interview. We invite external practitioner, not lecturers in school, so that the students are not, they don't get familiar with lecturers. And because they're total stranger, it almost becomes a real mock interview. And to encourage our students, we usually will have them in group, and then we'll shortlist, and then we will finally nominate one student with the most promising student that will get a job. And whenever we have any talks or seminars or workshop, we'll get our students involved. For degree level, we want to expand the horizon, so we take them out of Malaysia. We have thus far been to Bangkok, to Singapore, and as far as Tokyo. Now, if you just think that, is that Is it just study in Raffles? No, it's not just about studying, and there is also enough of what we call play. We have a club that's called Ideas Club because we believe in molding students who are more well-rounded. Through this club, the activities that they organize, the alumni networking that they do, competition that they join, they will understand about leadership, teamwork, managing a project, working with people, earning respect, and the real deal. Again, it's all about being ready and relevant to the working world. We have a t-shirt and we have a member board. All groups are represented, and one day in a year, we will meet the juniors, and all of us will be in one common uniform to unite us as one design family in the campus. And these are just some of the activities that we have organized. If you look at below chart, we have this charity work, and we are big on this. It's not easy to organize. So far, we've done 3, but these activities is a constant reminder to our students of what ID can do to elderly folks or to little children when we go there, make some changes, rearrange the bed, and just bring smiles to the elderly faces and the children. And it empowers our students to remind them that this is what interior designing can do. We have a year-end gathering to just kind of wash away all our stress because they've been working so hard every year, and we will just gather together to enjoy the Christmas gathering. And with this club, we also would network with the industry. It doesn't matter whether it's a visit to a paint factory or a workshop with Tangam. And we visit our students when they do internship. That is in our syllabus. Why, if you may ask? When we visit industry players, we then realize how our students are doing, what the industry is looking for in interior designers, and therefore we can go back and look at our syllabus, try to improve on our coursework or assignments to make it relevant. And that is the reason why, if you have a mission and the whole team of full-time and part-time work together to achieve that, we are trying to get our students that extra edge. Of course, like all colleges, we win competitions, international or local. And this is a slide that tracks students since interior design was introduced in Raffles 2002. We've managed to track it until 2018. And figures are figures. Career prospects of employability rate for local students about 91, and for international students about 82. And just in case one or two of you might be interested in how we get the numbers, under UAC, it means unaccounted. That means we've lost track of them. Others, we don't include it into the employability rate of 91 or 82 because they're employed, but they are not in the interior design firm. For example, they are in insurance, or one or two of them may be in tattoo artists that are bumped into, so they are not under what we call employability. The employability rate of 91% and 82% are all under the working, and when they pursue degree and masters, they are assured of a job. And all these are only possible when we keep improving and strengthening our industry relations, our alumni network, and just to foster more collaborative work to benchmark our students' career. And this is just some of our Raffles interior design alumni, local and abroad. And their success story, White Space, co-owned, founded by 2 of our interior design kids. And they have designed this bunk and billet, which was featured in one of our Instagram story. And one of our international students back in Indonesia, a successful chap, has finally opened his own furniture shop and this gallery is in Medan. Okay, so join us in our next intake if you want to become our next success story. Before I thank you guys again for your time, right below we have Instagram at Raffles_KL. I'd like to just inform you guys that if these short little webinar sessions kind of strike a nice chord in you and you want to know more, call us, make an appointment. I'd love to see you in the college and just show you more about your Raffles experience here. Or sometime in June, watch out for another webinar where I'm going to be inviting a couple of our alumni to have a design talk to talk about life after graduation, life after getting a degree. And I'm going to have some bit of a workshop to remind our students, even though you have left us, even though you graduated, you haven't actually left us. So I wanna do a little bit of a reminder about what is the fundamental of interior design. Spaces, spaces, spaces. Okay, thank you so much again for sharing, for joining in for this session. And back to you, Nina, for any question and answer.
Mr. Jason, that was such an inspiring end note.
Right. So that is what
All
I
right,
have.
let's just go on.
Yeah. So this is what I thought would be done in 20, 30 minutes or so to keep the kids going, just to get them kind of like hooked onto, oh, this is interior design. Ah, I can be this. Oh, this is what I'm going to be learning. Oh, and this is what's happening at Raffles KL. So that was the intention of this webinar, really. And I hope that is informative. So slides not in focus. I see that.
Yeah.
How was the slide? Was it okay? Nina? I think we are having some technical glitch. Nina? Anyone there? Is Nina here? There is a thunderstorm around my area. I'm not sure that's the reason why we're having a technical glitch. I see a couple of questions on the live comments. So let's wait for Nina to come back and guide us through.
Hello, Mr. Jason.
Hi Nina, what happened? Is it because on my side there is like a thunder coming in and that's why I lost signal?
Oh no, I think it could also be me. So, okay, let's just jump
Right.
into the questions real quick, Mr. Jason, so that we can
Sure.
avoid any of
All
the
right.
technical difficulties.
Sure.
Let's pick a question. Let's go with one from Rina. Do we have to do practical at your college? And does your college help with that?
Um, that question is a little bit generic, but if I'm going to be interpreting the question as, do we do practical, like do we have to do the mock-ups? Do we have to do the drafting? Do we have to do all these practical skills? Yes, it's incorporated into the syllabus. The assignment will guide you step by step, and you have various lecturers guiding you through that.
All right, okay, let's move on to the next question by Maya Andy. Hello, Mr. Jason. Can I know what's your personal design inspiration and when can those interested in interior design look for inspiration?
Oh, excellent. If you were my student in class, I would tell you three things. All three of it reflects my personality. I draw inspiration from the food that I go around hunting, because when you find a better fried rice, when you find a better nasi lemak, it it perks you up. It jogs your energy, and then it makes you see things differently. That's why I find that as a designer, if you are, say, an interior designer, it's not just about building spaces. It's just all about your personality. Draw inspiration from the people that you're observing. Draw inspiration as to why you don't go into that restaurant, why you don't like this ice cream flavor. My main inspiration is movies and travel. And I can't travel, I pop into the movies, I'll see it on a big screen, the sets, the design, the script writing, the storytelling, because ultimately, interior designing, you're telling a story. You're telling a story through different platforms. You're telling a story through spaces, through materials, to color. So that is where I draw my inspiration. And of course, Travel is another habit that I would always encourage. But with this MCO, I'm afraid we may have to park that aside. But if we do get to travel again, that is really good. And I actually promised myself that since I turned 40, I have to go to a place where it's a different culture, because you won't pick new things, your senses won't be sharpened if you keep going to places of within your comfort zone. Travel to places where you don't know a language, travel to places that you need other forms of communication, draw, signal, whatever, so that it expands your mind. As an interior designer or as an interior designer, this is your best asset. This is your best weapon. Keep it rich. And I hope, and of course, into magazines and readings and all that. Yeah, I hope that it's what Maya Andy is looking for.
Would you say that stepping out of your comfort zone is one of the key things to get
Oh,
inspiration
yeah.
as well?
Yes. Because if Maya is one of our students, she will probably look at us and say, Jason, I can't do this. There is no such thing as you can't. Get out of comfort zone. Within college, we're here to guide you.
All
Yeah.
right.
Take
Okay.
a step out of your bubble.
So we have one question from Christine Nick.
Yeah.
Aside from becoming, yeah, go ahead.
Besides becoming interior designer, what are jobs options to apply different skills? What if I don't want to go into design at all? Any transfer skills in this course? Nick, I'm not sure whether I can call you Christine or Nick. The first part of my slides have already told you how diversified your career can be. If you don't want to become an interior designer, you can be a CAD visualizer, you can be a site management. Yeah, they're all related to ID, but if you want to completely swing away from interior design, what I'm going to be telling you is you wouldn't be wasting a 2 year stay, because you have picked up the maturity, you have picked up how to handle stress, you will pick up even small little skills about how to handle stress. And so that even if you become, and we have one student, and if he's live here, you can click in here, yeah, forgotten his name. He's a tattoo artist. It's completely nothing to do with interior design. But when he does his design, he can remember things like scale and proportion. He can remember things about the line weights and all. Insurance agent, this girl that I bumped into when I was having dinner. And so I wasn't surprised, and as a lecturer, I wouldn't be disappointed that some of the students are not in the interior design firm. She said, oh, I'm not doing something related at all. But I think that when we have the club and to hone all these leadership skills and management skills, inevitably, we hope that we have given you something to part with from Raffles College. Yeah. Transferable skills depend again on what you end up doing. If let's say you end up doing an accountant, but you had an ID firm, then perhaps, yeah, there is actually one subject that's called budget and costing. You have to cost out and quantify. Yeah, so yes, there's transferable skills in that class.
So in either way, studying in Raffles College will also equip students with all these other interpersonal skills that they can still carry outside of their job
Yes.
scope too, right, Mr. Jason? Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. Because what we believe in school is not just strictly confining our experience with interior designing. All the lecturers, including myself, will tell the students what the bigger industry is about. Yes.
All right. Okay. Now let's just take on this last question by Chris. She says, for people who doesn't really have creativity or zero experience in drawing but interested in interior design, can they still apply?
Oh, yes, please, Chris. I will respond to this question by sharing you an experience with one of our Sri Lankan girls. She came in, and I was happening to be teaching drawing skills, freehand drawing. And she was literally grabbing the pencil, fist tight, and she was almost breaking down and says, Jason, I can't draw. And I say, Nina, it's just drawing. That's just a pencil. Can you just kind of relax? I'm just asking you to draw circles, squares, and slowly you were going to be drawing into three-dimensional cubes and rendering. And before you know it, she is now doing pretty well back in Sri Lanka. She wanted to come back to do degree, but she got married and all, and she's happy doing interior design. So, Chris, yes, there is no such thing as zero creativity. There, everyone is creative in his own ways. The reason that you sign into interior design is where we as a team will start to mold you. All students are like rough diamond. We polish you and we make you realize where your strengths are and we work on your weaknesses. So that's why it's important for you guys to know which schools you're at, what program are you going to be learning, and what skill sets are you going to be doing. Yeah.
Mm. All right. That's all questions that we have today, Ms. Jason. That was very inspiring and thoughtful, and also very, very insightful for our audience. So, for those
Absolutely.
of you who just tuned in, that was Mr. Jason Toh of Raffles College Kuala Lumpur. Thank you so much, Mr. Jason. We hope
Thank
that
you,
our
Nina.
audience have gained some valuable information from this session. We hope to see you again soon, Mr. Jason, in case we have another webinar series.
No, absolutely. Most welcome. And thank you for this opportunity. And I hope that small little sessions have helped open doors to whoever was checking in this afternoon. Thank you again, and
Thank
bye for
you.
now.
Goodbye. All right, so there you have it. Thank you to our audience for joining in. That was Mr. Jason Toh. So that's right now. Let's just take a quick tour to Raffles College Kuala Lumpur, and then I'll also show you guys what you can do at our our fair itself. Yeah, let me just share my screen. All right, let's just take a quick tour to Raffles College Kuala Lumpur. Yeah, so as you can see, this is the main booth for Raffles itself. You can find out more about this college at this About Us tag. You can also check out all the courses. As you can see, there's an array of courses that you can check out from diploma to bachelor's. Yeah, and even oh, okay, so for more information on scholarships and financial aid, do check out Raffles College itself, or you can even ask questions at the counter here. We have a chat option here. So I'm just gonna tell you guys once again, if you want to chat with the counselors, do note that they are not robots. They're all people working for. They're all professional counselors who will answer all your queries. You can just sign in your name, your phone number, and what course are you interested in, and you can start your chat. You can ask an array of questions from your diploma to your degree, scholarships, and so on. Yeah. And if you have no idea what you want to pursue, we have quizzes that you can explore, ranging from personality tests to finding out about your career pathway, even which pre-U should you take. So it's very, very simple. You can just click on it. Let's just see one quiz here. You can just click on it. You can just straight away start now and proceed to answer all the questions that they have over there. So do tune in to our webinar series tomorrow. This is not the end of our session. Yeah. But that's all that we have today. So tune in to our second webinar series tomorrow. We have an exciting lineup of speakers who will be weighing in on a variety of topics such as the power of machinery and manufacturing, mechanical engineering, biotechnology, and dentistry. So all the same place, YouTube, Facebook, and also at our fair. So yeah, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you again. Goodbye.